All right, here we are, man. So we have a Scientologist, we have a 32nd degree Master Mason, and we have a reformed glass breakage specialist, aka retired now police officer, Sonny Faro. So talk about it. Brandon put a post the other day on his Facebook page and his Instagram about my 850 score and kind of that unicorn that at least I was shooting for when I started the litigation piece out. But I'm gonna kind of just kind of go. I'm gonna do some crazy stuff here. And Brandon thinks I'm fucking screwball because of the stuff that I share here. A lot of times, I really don't give a shit. I mean, it's like the night that actually he and I were talking on the phone that same night, and he said, "Hey man, I sent him the email I got that says, 'Hey, you're a unicorn now. So you got an 850.' I sent it to him. He said, 'Can I upload this?' Yeah, man, I don't care. You can upload it with my social security number, the whole fucking bit. I really honestly don't care about shit like that. But I let me share my screen here, and I think that'll help us get going with some of the stuff that I want to share. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Let's start. I'm gonna log into my credit card of all things here. That's gonna really be a. Wouldn't this be fucking embarrassing if I'm like an 800 now instead of 850? That I haven't logged in a few
You're
days.
a 430, I
Yeah,
think.
430 is like, oh my God, fuck.
It just
Uh,
kicks you out. It says you've been logged out due to your credit score.
you're fucking yeah, you're a clown. You should not even be here. But this is actually the front page of Cap One. You can see it's credit wise, it's the whole bit. I'm gonna refresh it too, so you see I'm not playing any fucking games. I logged into my Cap One account. It's showing 850 as of today's date. So we hit the max. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of go through, and this is anybody that's interested in credit, this is kind of a good place. If you have a Cap One account, you'll get this notification. And I'm going to kind of dispel some myths as we go on what an 850. You now see it's an 850, so you now know what at least the baseline for 850 is. Because I've been told a lot of things over the years, especially having owned four auto dealerships in the past and had credit repair companies and all that other dumb shit that a lot of people are doing out there. And we'll get into the litigation side of how we got here. But there are five buckets. Payment history is your biggest one. And you can see it's 35% of your FICO score. So we're talking about FICO 8. Of course, somebody's going to jump in there and say, "Oh my God, yeah, such and such uses Vantage." I don't give a fuck, and they look pretty similar. It may not be an 850 on Vantage, but FICO is usually what the baseline is for most folks, especially if you're looking for a mortgage or anything like that. But your payment history is one that Sonny's heard me preach. Sonny's in one of my cohorts right now, and that's one of the first things I look at if I'm looking at my credit profile. I upload Identity IQ because it shows a side by side of all three bureaus. So payment history is your biggest impact, if you will, to the algorithm on how your score is built. And then you got the amount of debt. How much debt are you carrying? That's right there closely with it, 30%. So between those two things, there's 65% of your score right there on how much debt you're carrying and what is your payment history. And then now you look at link the credit. This is one of the ones that I want to kind of dispel a myth. It's 15%, which has got a pretty good size impact. You've always heard in the industry, let's say, air quotes, that you have to be an 850, you have to have at least 25, an account with 25 years of age. That's what I heard when I was in that space. That's not the truth. You can see my Cap One card is my oldest. It's only 20 years, 9 months. My average across all cards is 9 years, which is good with the industry standards, at least as Vantage has it. And then the amount of credit amount of new credit, I guess I should say, is 10% of that buildup. So it just kind of it gives you an overall. And I put a good video together for my cohort folks. Sonny might remember that, kind of going through. There's a simulator in here too that we won't go through, but your credit mix is the last thing. So exceptional across all things for Joey, except credit mix. It says I'm very good, not exceptional. So I have four revolving accounts, and they're talking about 10% impact there too. So that's kind of the buildup on what an 850 looks like, at least as credit wise would have it for a FICO, which is FICO 8's the newest version of. So I was surprised. I'd been carrying about an 8 and a quarter or right around that for a while. So the thing that set me to 850, I know this for a fact because I'd been kind of watching this since I have two active cohorts going on right now. I'll run them through this, and then of course, like I said, I have that video that I put out there a while back that I just did the simulator to say, hey, if Joey took on X debt at this credit score, what would it do? And Sonny may recall that it would drop me 100 points if I had my utilization go a little bit higher and stuff like that, which is the game in the credit world, and I can say this from experience too, is to get you at a 660 or below as fast as they can. That's a subprime world. That's where now in Indiana, which is where I'm at, Brandon's home state, when you have a 660, the same bank may own a subprime arm of that bank where your 3.99% auto loan is going to go to, in Indiana at least, 25% is the max on what I could loan when I had a dealership. So if I can get you at 660 or below, now you're a subprime. So that's why it's so important to keep at least above 660, and we can kind of talk through that as we go. So you guys got any questions on this stuff, Brandon, Sonny?
No, and the one thing I'll say
No.
really quick on this is just like, because I know some of my audience is going to be like, this is all bullshit. This is all bullshit. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, just real quick. Yes, everything he's talking about. I know Joey doesn't really give much of a fuck about this, but I know the audience will.
yeah,
We're talking about the sole proprietorship. We're talking about a credit score attached to the sole proprietorship. Yes, people can say that's bullshit. That's all crap. That's all part of the system. Why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because it makes access to get more negotiable instruments easier. Period.
mm,
I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think. You can't deny that that is the fact. If you've got an 850, you can walk in anywhere, sign a couple documents, endorse a couple things, and get a shitload of Federal Reserve notes with almost no effort. If you don't have this magic number, you can't do that. Period. End of story. All the details surrounding that, all the details surrounding that, I understand some of them are more relevant, less relevant. Some people are more interested in certain details, less interested in certain details, but there's that certain fact there that is just purely undeniable, regardless of all of that information.
yeah. It's good. It's a good point. Yeah, there's obviously you would think that with the group of folks that we have here right now, yeah, there's going to be a lot of conversation, no doubt about that. I'm sure in the comments and everywhere else. I'm one of those. There are things that Brandon and I completely differ in our thoughts. I think we're really good friends. About 2 weeks from now, I'm going to fly out. We're going to smoke cigars and do crazy shit together. But there are certain things that we definitely would just have to agree to disagree on. Yeah, and that's good. I mean, this
We're
part
not
right here.
violently
No,
opposed.
no, 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 no,
We're
no,
we're
no.
just you just don't give a fuck.
Well,
That's
yeah, you
really
said
there's a
it.
big difference because someone might be like, "Oh wow, they're violently opposed." Absolutely not. Joey has heard my spiel 1,000 times in literally like 1,000 different ways, different angles, and using different
Yeah,
terminology. He's read some of my stuff. I guarantee you, most of the time while he's reading it, his eyes are rolling in the back of his
yeah,
head, somewhat, right? So it's not that he doesn't believe in it. It's not that
no,
he just doesn't like if he was in court and I said it, he would just say like irrelevant.
yeah,
He just doesn't care. Because he'll be whatever it is that you call him, he'll be a US citizen and he'll
yeah,
just use the standard procedural elements of the court system just like a bar card would and he'll win if you called him a pink elephant, a purple people eater or a US citizen. And I respect that 100%. That is confidence. So I can't sit here and say that's bullshit and create a divide between myself and Joey. I understand his position, and in fact, I find it to be a tremendous level of
mm,
confidence. And he doesn't just speak these things; he actually lives these things, which is evident by his wins in court. So you just can't argue with that. There's nothing you can argue with.
and we'll go through those wins in court here too. So yeah, I want to get a deep dive on that stuff. I think that'll be fun as we go. But yeah, there's there's definitely some things, and this kind of Sonny will lean on him whenever we get to that point when we start talking about the court stuff. Is when Brandon's saying it's irrelevant to me, it's not that I don't give a shit about it. It's quite the opposite, actually. I actually do. I'm interested in the theory. So you look at it, and we tried to figure each other out. Brandon and I did in the several conversations that we've had, which is what, how do we differ? I'm more of a strategist, I
Yeah.
think. I'm what Sonny would definitely tell you this, where I'll bomb in, here's what we're gonna do, kind of thing, whenever we're in the courts and stuff. And Brandon's got a lot of theory that he truly believes in, which I do too. And it's good for me if he believes it, I believe it, kind of thing. And that's where I think we've been really good to be able to interact with one another. For me, when he says irrelevant, I love when he says that because that's a term I take to heart. It's like the other night we're having a conversation. It was the same one where, I shared with him the score increase. And he's telling, oh man, it's been 15 years, Joey. I've been working on this, and now I know resident equals guest. And it's like me talking to my wife a lot of times. I can see her glaze over. That's how I was probably, doing, because I've said this, I know he appreciates that. I just don't give a fuck. It's not that I don't care about the research and the fact that you need to know who you are. If you're the one listening to this, I'm all for that. But as Sonny will attest, when we get into the courts, which is the baseline for me, you're never going to hear about any of that stuff. Me and Brandon will do a little bit of battle back and forth about 14th Amendment, this and that and the other, and laugh about it afterwards. Whereas when we get in there, in court, I've never heard a jurisdictional issue at all about any type of a U.S. citizen versus a state national versus this or a pink monkey named Ted. It just doesn't make sense for me to do that. Now I'm interested in it. I think it's great. I'm going to help out Brandon till the end of time. But me, as far as going forward in the credit space, which is my lane, I'm truly passionate about it. And I've kind of, as you'll see, I've done some pretty good battles. So this right here, let's just kind of go through some of my case stuff here. You hear me talk a lot about Snap-on, and that's really kind of the case that did it for me. But this is the one that kicked everything off. Somebody made a post on Brandon's page the other night about American Express was suing him and this, that, and the other. And that's actually honestly how Brandon and I got to know one another. I saw him talking about at length on his YouTube page about Amex and some of his woes there. And this is just a perfect example of this. This is Indiana state court. This is them suing me. So I'm a defendant. And you can see now this is active, by the way. Anybody in the world can log in, get an e-file account, and go in. And this would be a master class for you on what litigation looks like, especially for the courts that want to play games. And you'll see that throughout this. I don't want to go through the
And I
entire
think Indiana, you can download the docket items for free. Is that correct?
100% free,
Okay,
yeah.
that's
And I'll show
important.
you that here in just a second. Yeah, so American Express v. Joey Kimbrough, you'll see the date on here when it was filed, almost
When
4 years ago to the
when
day.
I put this video on my channel, I'm going to put a link to this page with the docket
Okay.
in the video description.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that'll be awesome. So it's one of those cases where this is the one I laugh about, but this is the one that kicked it off for me. When the guy came up, he tapped on the fucking door and handed my wife the subpoena and the complaint. This was me saying, I either need to learn this shit or I'm going to be another fucking default judgment. Well, I decided to learn, and it's still ongoing, by the way. I mean, when we get to the end, look at the size of this fucking docket and how many filings we've done here. So for all the Indiana people, this is funny because there are filings in here you will fucking laugh about because literally they're filing in and trying to tell the court they missed an order because the guy's got two fucking cats and one of the cats died and he was taking the other one to the vet. I mean, just some of the dumb shit stuff. My wife is like, you got to be kidding me. No, you'll read that stuff throughout, but there's an objection that I actually filed today. I filed a pré-suppé is what it's called in Indiana back in April. If you look at the docket of 2023, April 14th to be exact, saying this judge is a fucking clown. He's not ruled on anything, and it's time to get me a new judge. So here we are, 2.5 years later, we're still fighting about that. And you talk about If you're just getting into this and litigating and thinking you're going to get out, this is one that I carried on for a long time. I could have now, knowing what I know, probably could have gotten this one taken care of pretty quick because as much as you hear me bitch about arbitration and I will not go, that's the first thing I would have bitched about here. Because there's a contractual agreement that we have that before we would sue each other, blah, 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 which you all have that same contractual agreement if you have any credit cards, we would let the other party know that we were suing and so forth. So I could have gotten this thing, but for me, it's turned into something way bigger than that. Which we can go through just a bit of that here. But so the judge, and I'll go through kind of yeah, of course it's timed out because yeah, let me pull this up here real quick and re-log in, and then we can just go through real quick. So if you log in to the Indiana stuff, do a search, just put in this case number, and I'm going to do this fast, where you can search by my name, hit the link. Now you're into the entire docket. You can download, just like Brandon said.
Do you need
Uh,
a an account or login
yeah,
to get to this page? Okay, so you have to sign up for something.
you'll have to
They
sign for an e-file account, just like you did in California and Sonny did in
do
Florida.
they need a credit card to open up one of
No,
those e-file? Okay, cool. That's cool.
no, not at all. It's actually really easy to get an account in Indiana. So right here, I'm going to look at that objection. Let me move us out of the way here. Here's the objection. It literally just got filed yesterday too. But long story short is the judge and I had been doing battle for quite a while. And there's a rule here. And in your, whenever I'm talking about Indiana, there's going to be the same rules for you and your state. Just put in your keyword. But Indiana, it's trial rule 53-1 gives me the ability to say I want a new judge because this one's an ass clown. So what happens there is they send it to the chief administrative officer at the Supreme Court. But here is just, if you read through this, you'll see that I'm telling them that the court essentially in their order said, based off of, because they were going to completely ignore me. And I'll go through that order. That'll be the best place to start. So I put Exhibit A in here and said, look, February 11th, here's the order. And it says that the defendant, which is me, is talked about during the hearing, the 53-1. So here we are. He's talking about here's the review of the record talks about my presuppé and also the fact that 2 weeks later I filed a motion to compel. So most of you, if you haven't litigated, this is going to sound like Chinese to you, but Sonny is will appreciate this because he hears enough of me talking about the filings and stuff that we do in his case, which you'll see here shortly. But anyway, we talk about those things, and he says, "Hey, I sent this to the chief administrative officer, and he said just go ahead and proceed with the matter because basically I waived my right." And this is super important for people that want to litigate that rely on past precedent. So, and you'll see that here in just one moment. Meaning, the chief administrative officer in his here is his order from the Supreme Court. I'm bouncing around just a little bit, but it'll all come to a head. So this is from the Indiana Supreme Court that chief administrative officer sent his ruling. And his ruling, they had already talked about this back in February. Keep in mind, you just saw the judge's order. He called the chow, let's call him, and he said, "Hey, fuck the guy. He's waived his rights because he's filing other shit." And then he references a Supreme Court case, Turner, and then he also references a cop case. Now, if you look at that order, it'll say that, and we'll do that. We'll bring up the second order here. So there was another one. I'm bitching all along about this, and this is what you have to do. So now we're talking about a May hearing. It's kind of the same thing where he filed this in August. But he's talking about, I'm still bitching about this in hearings. Where in the fuck is why hasn't this been sent to the chief administrative officer? Why aren't we doing this right? And this judge now knows me well enough to know he's fucked because I do a judicial notice in every hearing, and I rub. It's kind of like the dog pees on the carpet. You rub their nose in it. I do this to this judge completely the entire time, and I enjoy this, by the way. So he's saying June 13th. Here's the key. The Indiana Supreme Court issued in state of Indiana ex rel. Tho versus the Marion Superior Court, Indianapolis, that involves the issue of removal when the clerk fucked up and did not forward it to the Chow versus 53-1. This is the judge saying this. I'm going to send this to him again based off of the most recent Tho decision in Indiana, which was June 13th of 2025. You remember what you just saw there with the Supreme Court. He references Turner, which is a 1960 decision, and he references Kopp, which is a 2000 decision. He didn't say shit about what the judge sent it down there for. And this is where your litigant eyes have to open and say, wait a minute, I know I'm right. The judge knows he's asking for something because he's not on my side now, but he's at least saying he's asking the right questions. Why didn't you do that? So my entire objection was based on the fact that this dumb shit down at the Supreme Court, the Chow, is making a ruling based off of old decisions in Indiana Supreme Court, not what the fuck the judge sent it down there for, and not what I'd asked him to do. So anyway, this is ongoing. It's been going on for 4 years. I love it. I get so excited talking about this. But if you read through this docket, you'll see everything along the way where I kill these fucking guys. I mean, the attorneys, the judge, it's an ongoing battle with me, man. But this is the one that actually started my litigation world tour, man. Is this case right here? And if you want a master class, this is definitely the one to take a look at. You guys got any questions on this docket?
No, I mean anybody who
Oh,
wants to get in
jeez.
here and read everything can. I'll put a link in the video description.
Love it. You guys, I think you'll enjoy this. If you read through it, you'll see just the biggest thing with credit card stuff, which that's a lot of people reach out to me and they say, "Oh my God, I'm being sued for this." I think it was like a $15,000 they said I owed them. One account, by the way. I had six, which you're going to see a second portion of this in federal court here in just a second. This is one case. This is them feeling me out for one account. They say I owe 15 grand, but you know, if you start looking at these things like a litigant, you'll find so many errors, just as Sonny saw, and we'll talk through in his case here in just a moment. But the complaints, it's something that an attorney's thrown through. There's no evidence from the party, which there has to be. There's nothing. They usually they're non-substantive, they're presumptive only. There's just so many things that they do wrong. But yeah, so anyway, I look at these things with a completely different set of eyes as Sonny now knows too. So this is the one you hear me
Oh
talk
yeah.
about all the time. This is the one that Brandon's got on the Williams and Williams page. This is my Snap-on case. And this was me suing Snap-on and also, well, I sued a bunch of fucking people here too. I sued Snap-on, I sued Equifax, I sued Experian in this case. So even though I tell my cohorts just fucking let it eat and go after everybody, it's one of those things I did not necessarily do to get my credit score up. I found what I told them, which is kind of the lame duck, if you will, and that was Snap-on in my world when I ran my credit profile. So they were reporting out to Equifax, they were reporting out to Experian. And we've kind of went through this before, but you guys can, if you have a Pacer account, you can pull this up. It's the Indiana Southern District is where I'm at. This is a great one to look at as well too. It's quick. I mean, as Sonny knows, his fucking docket now, as we'll see, is like 100 and something docket filings here already. So me, I had a telephonic conference here. Let's see when I stipulated these guys out. So there's one, and yeah, so we filed in on June 15th. Got the summonses back on the 22nd, so now I can serve them. I served all three of them, as you see here. I did my notice of service of process here saying, hey, they got filed. Brandon and Sonny are very well aware of this process here. Then they started filing in, which is when I reached out immediately and said, hey, man, I'd love to find an amicable resolution for your client and myself. Established that I'm not a fucking crazy sob sit, that I actually can have a conversation, which I would recommend anybody do. I'm not a free man with blood flowing through my veins and all that sprinkly horse shit that a lot of people do. I'm actually somebody that knows and can talk to you guys. So they started filing in. We had an order for pre-trial conference, and then boom, July 22nd, Equifax settlement stipulation. This was me settling them out. I won't tell you the amount, but I got paid well. And I got paid well enough that my $402 filing fee really didn't matter at that particular point. So June 15th, initiated the case. July 22nd, just what, a month and a week later, I'm now an 818 credit score with Equifax at this particular point here, by the way. That's how fast it happens once you get in. So now I had a couple of months before that, as Sunny well knows, in building the evidence, like I teach them how to do. Before I filed in, had a conversation, actually a couple conversations with Equifax before we settled. And then what's the next one? Order of dismissal for Experian. Oh, right here, stipulation of dismissal. So August 9th, what, a couple weeks later, I went ahead and settled with Experian as well for two and a half times the amount of what I settled with Equifax earlier. I was an 839 credit score with Experian after this. So we're still missing TransUnion, which was not a defendant in this. And I'll show you that here in just a minute too, and talk to you strategically about why I kind of left them out. They weren't reporting. Snap-on was not reporting TransUnion, so I had no horse in the race there. Now I could have pulled Amex in, and I could have pulled TransUnion. I did it in another case, and you'll see that here in just a second. But regardless, I went for a while. I learned everything I know today. The attorney, Joe Kern, good dude. He and I had a lot of tough conversations on the phone. As Sonny now knows, he's had plenty of those himself in his case, which is just complete fucking respect. Him saying, you can't do this, me saying, oh, watch this, motherfucker. So, we had settlement conference in this. This is a good one for people to study. And I know a lot of you guys have because you guys reached out to me with questions about this particular case. The biggest piece was me fucking adding after he said, you're not going to be able to sue the president. I sued the president. I sued the fucking CEO and three board members right here, like a dumbass. I will. That added 5 more months to my case. I shouldn't have done that because I already had them. I had Snap-on credit, and that's all I really needed. But that was just one of
because
those things.
because the corporations are persons and they have the corporate veil essentially protects the board and stuff like that
Yeah.
because they would have to be individually as separate persons. They would have had to damage you. It's not necessarily David C. Adams that damaged you, and if he did, you would have to prove a direct link between you and David C. Adams. But the business, which is a person, is essentially who damaged you. According, is that basically how that's how it is, right?
Yeah, and I had a pretty good argument there. We had to have a hearing on this when Attorney Kern says you can't sue them for a lot of what Brandon just said right there. You can't pierce the corporate veil, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Yeah, yeah, I can. Yeah,
If you
So,
prove if you prove that David C. Adams did something or there was a phone call or you get something in discovery that shows that David C. Adams like was physically involved,
mhm.
then at that point you would pull them in as a separate defendant for their particular action. Is that am I correct on that?
Right here says it all, official and individual capacity. So I'm wanting him as a corporate officer, but I'm also wanting him as a fucking guy that's pulling the levers for the what I used as my grounds brand. And this good questions and good conversation is I pulled up their safe or their corporate guidelines, and I'm just that crazy animal about fucking research and stuff. So I went to Snap on site. I pulled all of their shit. That's how I found them. And then I looked through their corporate guides and says, okay, you guys are the ones that are in charge of the corporate governance, and here are the ones making the rules on the credit and this, that, and the other. And I linked them there. Now that's when we're fighting about it, and then we have the hearing. The magistrate said, he said, Joe Kern said, you're not going to get this done, bro. And I said, there's going to be some things we're just going to have to agree to disagree on. We had the hearing, and Kelly Barr agreed with me, the magistrate, and she allowed it to happen. So, right here, you'll see the amended complaint. You'll see the summonses were issued after um, our hearing. So, what happens here is it literally starts as a new case. So, they
Mm.
have to now, after I serve them, and that's why I would never recommend this, I didn't need to. Now they have to answer the complaint again because it's been amended with adding these other folks. And the attorney, he and I kind of joked about this because as he calls me, and I said, I just 5x'd, bro, your fucking retainer. And he's like, well, there was some read over there, Mr. Kimbrough, but yeah, I did, okay, so I'm on your fucking Christmas card list now. We could joke like that. And there was a certain level of respect between us, but I knew he would slit my throat and leave me on the roadside for dead. So anyway, I think this was a great study for me too. I mean, I did a couple of subpoenas. Joe Kern could get a subpoena like today. I let out Experian and Equifax. Why did you need subpoenas? Well, because I let them out, and then Experian was the one that said, go fuck yourself when I was needing discovery. So now I had to go back to the court right here, motion to compel discovery and notice of subpoena denial. So I'm tattletelling on them now. The judge right away said, yeah, give him the fucking subpoenas, give him everything he wants. And then boom, I got flooded with a lot of discovery from Equifax and Experian, which Snap-on wanted as well. They wanted access to that. So I wanted to do the work because I wanted to learn the processes and so forth. So anyway, Equifax got real friendly really fast after that order right here gets signed. And I sent that along with the subpoena. I got my information really quick because they would have been held in contempt. But this one here is good, man. I mean, here's settlement conference. This is where I went in and said all kinds of crazy shit before that, 16.75 million. I had a little bit of sob set in me at that particular point, saying a lot of crazy shit too. 7 days before each of us had to submit our last and final with what we thought we were owed and this, that, and the other. And when you go to a settlement conference, you have to be able to write a check. So it was me, the attorney, the senior vice president for Snap-on showed up, and anyway, it's a Zoom call, much like this. They break you up into rooms, and then you come together, and it's an hour and a half of that. She said, "Mr. Kimbrough, we're getting nowhere, so I'm gonna have to call this. I'm gonna have to call this one." I said, "Oh, no problem." I think I settled on 100 and something grand, and it's like, nah, they're not having any part of it. But you can see right after that notice of settlement a week later. That's how fast it happens. Sonny knows this to be true too, by the way. It's you always have to have a reason to talk. So we went there, we did battle, and then we got on the phone one more time and we got it done. So that was it. April of 2023, this bad boy was completed. This is Kimbrough v. Amex American Express. This is me suing them for those other five credit cards that I was referring to earlier in federal court. So it's me taking them on, but I also had TransUnion in there too, which you'll
They
see.
put Esquire after a name. Did you see that?
I did see that. Isn't that funny? But then they have pro se under for
That's
plaintiff.
hilarious.
Yeah, don't
That's
call me Esquire.
hilarious.
That's like
Yeah, me
you can
too.
call me anything, but please don't.
Someone called me Esquire one time. I think it was the city of Glendale's attorney. They sent me a letter and said Esquire, and I sent him back a letter. I said, "Don't you ever call me that again." And then when I sued him in federal court, there was a notice at the top of the complaint, and it said something to the order of, you'll see in the attached documents that there's this word Esquire used. I am not an Esquire, and that should not be used to describe me at any point in time during these proceedings. Something like that.
Yeah, please don't ever call me that.
Yeah, please.
This is a transcript, which is kind of funny. I didn't see this until today, but I knew this. This was the one where they compelled arbitration and they won, by the way. So it's one of those things. Brandon and I we got this understanding where it sometimes what most people would consider an L for me is not an L. One, you can see right here. There's 130 docket entries here, which you'll see in a minute. But this magistrate told me to come to Indy, which is where they're at. So I drive for 45 fucking minutes. I pay for parking. I go in there. He throws a little hissy fit. As you can see, this is only 6 page transcript. It only lasted for 6 minutes. He kicked it off at 10:34, I think. So it's funny too. I have a real person, all that stuff. Judge Pratt ordered it. If you read through this, this is funny. Are you not going to initiate arbitration proceedings? You'll see here. I'm not bullshitting you when I say fuck you. No way, Jose. That's correct, Your Honor. I have not initiated. Why not? I did not see anything in Order 49 or 50. So I just go through this. He gets so fucking mad. And everything's not listed here either, by the way, because he kicked it off and he just said, "We're adjourned." That's not what he did when he picked up his ball and walked out. His little red face, the fat fuck, 10:40 a.m. He kicked it off at 10:34. So it only lasted 6 minutes. But me going through the 9 USC 3 and all of that, it's pretty quick. I mean, I'm not going to arbitration. You can kiss my ass. I mean, I throw a couple objections on there. He said, "Yeah, that's great, but you're going to arbitrate." No, I'm not. So anyway, we went all the way through the appellate process in this one. Here it is, and here's that docket. You'll see that there's a few appeals here that I dealt with, but you'll see here TransUnion. I initiated this case on October 7th of 22. I settled out with them on October 24th. So now I had all three. The big three, I had settled with all of them. TransUnion was the last one to remove. I really didn't give a fuck about this case, to be quite honest with you. They were the ones I wanted. And in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I had them settled out, two and a
Hey,
half.
look, it's our buddy Stephen J. Newman.
I knew you would love that right there. Los Angeles with Steptoe. Yeah. I mean, Brandon and I share, we got the same groups after
He
us, and
loves us. He loves us.
he does. This gal here's from Washington, D.C. I mean, there's just so many things that procedurally you guys will see when you start getting into litigating is she's from DC. She files in. She's not even fucking, accepted or approved in the bar of the Southern District of Indiana, but here she is. So I kicked up dust about that. I raised hell. This fucking guy here, I reached out to him. He's like, "Oh, I don't work for Amex anymore. I'm fucking down in Miami nailing coke whores and stuff." I mean, literally, I have these fucking exchange. He didn't say that, but he's like, I don't work for them anymore. So
Just real quick, I wanted to mention
yeah.
too, all the stuff that Joey's showing you so far. It looks like this case, you and I met while you were in the middle of this case.
Hmm.
So one of the reasons why I started working with Joey is because he sent me all this shit that he's
Yep.
showing you in the show at the very beginning of when we met, and I was like, "Holy fuck!" I was pretty overwhelmed by it all, but I could tell that he knew what he was doing, and that's kind of how we started working together. But you and I, just for a timeline's sake, you and I met,
Right about here.
started talking. Yeah, maybe even October of 23. But yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
So yeah, and it was the crazy thing was is I heard one of his videos where he's talking about getting ready to tee it up with Amex, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm from Indiana as well, and I'm teeing it up with Amex right now," and just kind of sent him, I think, a little video just going through some of this stuff right here. But
Yeah, you sent me like two or three walkthrough videos where you did a screen record and you sent me videos of you walking through the different filings and I could just tell by your voice and I could just tell by what I was looking at, even though I didn't know what I was looking at, that you knew what was going on. And I had never really ever had anyone present something to me that gave me any confidence that they actually knew what was going on. So you were sort of like a bottle of water in the desert. I
yeah.
didn't know if there was ever another one that was going to come along. So I kind of by the time the first month or so, I was kind of giving you the cold shoulder because it was just I just get so much trash and horse shit all the time.
Hmm.
But by the time about 30 days went by and you kept sending me stuff and you kept emailing me and I was like, okay, this guy really knows what's going on, and that's kind of when our friendship and business or whatever you want to call it, a trust relationship kind of began at that point. So
Yeah, I mean, you can see I bitch about arbitration. I think it's the worst thing in the world that anybody could ever do to themselves. I mean, you'll see right here. Fuck you, not doing it. And I went through the appellate court, that whole appellate process too. So we're filing. I could log into that and show you that, I'm filing the briefs over there. They're filing the reply and so forth. And then we get all the way down here and then it's basically a done deal. Now, I could go to the Supreme Court, it would be the same thing, but for
what's the name of
me,
that? I'm a little curious if it's been recapped. What's the name of the
Kimbrough
should we
v. Amex.
but that's it's appeals in the which circuit is it?
Oh, Seventh Circuit. Yeah. Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin.
Now,
Uh,
Joey, after they were granted
oh wow.
the the arbitration, you're like, fuck you, I'm not going.
Mhm.
Where in the docket is that when and then you just appealed, you kept appealing?
Yeah, I went through the appellate process. May of 24 is when they called me and says, "Hey, the chief judge, Tanya Pratt, was the one overseeing this. Mark Densmore, I actually have a case going on with him right now. He loves me too. I filed a complaint with him at the Seventh Circuit here in another case, but yeah, that's when he said, "Fuck it, I'm going to get him down here. I'm tired of this clown," and they thought they were going to work me over. The whole process, and I think I've told you, I know I've told Brandon, you go into Indianapolis, there's the fucking United States Marshal sitting there. And it's like, for me, it's funny, but there's a metal detector. I literally have to put my cell phone in a fucking sleeve. They lock the sleeve so you can't take pictures, videos, all this stuff while you're there. And yet I'm watching attorneys walk right through the metal detector and they've got their phones out and they're texting back and forth and all this other shit. But it's like you and I go down there and there's this whole fucking theatrics set up for us. And then we go up on the third floor, whatever that is. We go into the little hearing room and we have a little court proceeding there. So it's a
Just
different experience, man.
just real quick, it is I'm gonna post a recap link to the appellate. I found it 24-2971. Um, a couple of the items have been recapped.
Yeah.
So if you need to get other things, someone will need to buy them. But I'm sure within a day or two of this being up, most of the items will be available on recap if people buy them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good one. I had a pretty good brief there too. We did some battle there for a little while, but me and your buddy Newman actually, he was the one doing the legwork there, which I was surprised because as you know, he's from Harvard, so it's kind of above him, but he stepped into that one. But they had to deal with me and that was good. And this is a case that, like I said, my intentions were this right here. You can see that I stipulated a dismissal, which Sonny knows what that means, on the 21st, like literally 14 days after I filed it with TransUnion. This is the one where Charlotte Hood, I think her name, inside counsel, Indianapolis. I have a whole fucking team of attorneys and I'm ready to kill you and leave you for dead. But you did say you wanted to talk settlement. So what do you got? So, I think I started out at a few $1,000 and by the end of that it was much less than that, but I got all of the shit taken off my profile that I wanted. And that was the key for me, guys, is I've now got Experian and Equifax in my Snap-on case, and now I have TransUnion here that I've settled out with. I didn't give a shit about Amex, to be real honest with you. I owed them $154,000 across 6 credit cards, which you take the guess on whether I will ever pay that or not. And there's been no coming after me for any of that stuff because of what I did here. I already had all of the bullshit taken off of my profile, so you just saw a perfect 850 credit score. How in the hell can you do that if you still owe? This is it right here. You've got to be able to litigate it off of your credit profile, and Sonny's he's definitely one that's seen that in action now because he's part of a cohort with me. So, it's Sonny. We can pull up your profile here or your case docket. Here's Sonny's. Uh,
And just real
aka
quick to let
Lopez.
everybody know, Sonny was on my show. He was
Yep.
also at the live event that we did in April for people that are not aware. He just retired as a police officer with the Tampa Police Force after 16 years of service. He did some live on demonstrations with us that are recorded. You can find those videos on my YouTube channel. After all of that, he when Joey spoke at the live event in April, Sonny wanted to get involved in one of Joey's cohorts. He got involved. He was absolutely flabbergasted by how fucking annoying and retarded and snakish all of the lawyers are, even though he had been a police officer for 16 years. He got to see behind the curtain. He has been victorious in some of his cases, and that's why he's here. He's kind of gone through the whole gamut with Joey, and that's why he's here on the show, because he is essentially proof that we are now duplicating our knowledge, or Joey's duplicating his knowledge of this area and actually starting to see results, which we knew we were going to get eventually. It's been a long process. For me, I'm still working on trying to get success, and then once I get success, I'm going to try to duplicate that success. It's the same kind of step by step process. First, you have to have success, and then if you would like, from there, you figure out how to duplicate that success. But if we do that, that's how we change the country. Just as a little
Mhm.
background on that.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's my lane is credit too. I truly enjoy credit. I mean, and I don't know if I'll do another cohort after these two here. I don't know. I suspect I may, but I'm getting very passionate about the trust side of things too. And I don't know where we'll go with the conversation there. If we think about, we could have some good conversation there. But yeah, Sonny mastered in glass breakage and pulling people out of cars and stuff like that down in Tampa, and we gave him shit about that. But
You only did that like in 16 years. You only did that like what, 5, 10 times? I mean, it wasn't. I remember when we were talking about this at the event, Sonny. You didn't do that very many times, did you?
No, I've never shit. I mean, never broken a window. Like, have I pulled somebody through the window? Yes, but I've never like smashed somebody's window or
But even
I
pulling
mean,
through somebody through a window, like what, like a handful, several times
well,
in your whole
yeah,
career,
that's not, yeah.
it's not very common.
And that's not even like a traffic infraction. That's like, you fled or something and jumped in a car. You know what I mean? That's
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
that's not like, hey, you're getting a ticket. Oh no, you're not going to sign this. Yeah, nothing like that.
yeah. Okay.
most people
But
don't
anyways,
understand that that's just such a fucking goofy thing, man. I mean, I know I wasn't a big hit in Austin whenever I was kind of giving part of the other group hell about that, showing videos where fucking four screaming kids are in the back and dad's getting drug out of the fucking van. And it's just, to me, that's stupidity, and I know Brandon well enough and I know Sonny well enough. We can have some really good offline conversations. And Sonny's like, well, why don't you get an international driver's license? Because here I am again. I don't fucking care and I don't need one. What would happen if Sonny pulls me over on the causeway on 75 or whatever? One, we talked through this. Well, first off, I'm going to talk to you like a human fucking being. I'm not going to be that sob sit crazy shit. Fuck you. You're not getting it. I'm traveling. I'm not fucking driving. Blah blah blah. To where he's now fucking. He's raising his. No, it's like, hey, officer, how can I help you? I'll get out. I'll talk to him. We'll shake hands. Whatever the fuck. Because here's the thing. Sonny has already been trained a certain way. I am not going to litigate with him on the side of the road. Quite honestly, after we leave and he hands me that little fucking citation I don't give a shit about, I'm never probably going to talk to him again unless he has to be called into court. I'm going to do my business in court. When the prosecuting attorney takes that citation and tries to convert it to criminal, that's when I'm gonna rise up. There is no reason to treat Sonny like shit and be an asshole, man. He's like fucking. He's just trying to do a job. And quite honestly, I'm a friend of Sonny's now. I mean, I look at him a different way, but I'm sure he's been called every kind of cocksucker and everything else on the side of the road by people that don't necessarily look at it the same way as I am. I'm not gonna flex on Sonny. I'm not gonna. No, it's just not the right place to do that. So.
And the whole thing is a black PR campaign. It's like the message is anyone who knows their rights, stands for their rights, or even talks about the fact that they may or may not have rights fits this category. This is how they behave, and this is what happens every single time. A lot of the articles and stuff you'll find online is they always put this line in there that says something like, sovereign citizen arguments have never, ever, ever, ever worked ever in any court of law. And I'm like, what is the definition of the word works? Because I'll tell you right now, I've seen trash being put into dockets that I myself, as the judge, would probably hold them in contempt or would do some kind of a psych eval on them, and the charges get dropped. I've never once seen hardly any charges stick. So the idea that it doesn't work, what the hell is the definition of doesn't work? I see charges. I mean, I am utterly flabbergasted by the kind of stuff that gets charges dropped to the point where it's almost like I don't even see how the only way I'm at the point now I've seen so much goofy shit. I am truly of the opinion the only way you can really get charged with something where there's not like solid evidence, like totally screwing you, and it's like an actual criminal act with an actual harmed person, is just don't respond. Just
Mhm.
don't file anything in. If you could file in, and I've made this joke before, a Polaroid of your bleached asshole, and there's a chance that the goddamn thing will get fucking dropped. So I just don't like this stuff is literally just a black PR campaign to make it seem like none of this works. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. None of this works. You don't have rights. This is insane. You know, that's the whole message behind this whole thing. It's goofy. Plus, people love the drama of the window breaking and kind of all this stuff. It becomes like a TMZ episode. So you also have that aspect too. These guys are making money on ad revenue. These channels that have the window breaking, they get a lot of traffic. There's tons and tons,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Yeah.
Cameron
They
Wilson's Cameron Wilson's page, the videos that get by far the most traction are the window breaks, and there's hundreds of thousands of views, and it's like it's insane. So there's a lot behind all of that, and it's just a big ball of chaos. But like, I don't I don't teach that. I don't recommend that. I still recommend Cameron's group though, because
Oh yeah.
even though there's a lot of that, and it's still, I look past that because the amount of awesome stuff they're doing, and they're trying all these different things, and they have videos, and they're critiquing the videos, they're meeting twice a week, like as long as they continue to learn, and
Yeah.
as long as they continue to look at everything with a critical eye, there is no other group on the fucking planet doing anything like that anywhere. And
Yeah.
until there
agreed.
is, I have to recommend Cameron Wilson, even though I may not completely agree with that aspect of it, but he uses that aspect to gain a lot of attention. His channel has grown so fucking fast. His channel is like half the size of mine, if not even more than half the size of mine, in like from like not even a year or something like that. So there's just no way to not. I mean, I hope I've told him straight up multiple times that I don't like that aspect of what's going on, but it creates so much attention when you do it, when you put those kind of videos on the internet,
Yeah.
that he gets these humongous fucking monster traffic spikes. And then everyone starts fighting in the comments. That spikes, everything just goes through the fucking roof. So I get he's a smart marketer, really, if you think about it at the end of the day, because he uses those to create all those spikes.
The thing
Yeah.
that I've found, and I know Sonny will agree, and definitely Brandon will too, is everybody is looking for that fucking silver bullet, and it's just not there, by the way, guys. I can tell you my stuff. Joey Kimbrough was successful. I can show you receipts all day long about my 850 score and how I did it. And I think I'm very good with the cohorts that I put together and the information I share and how I build it. Sonny has done exceptionally well. We'll go through his docket here shortly, and you'll see that with those teachings. I did it for a considerable amount of clients before. So you got Joey's receipts, then you have him building it for his clients. And now you have him handing the fishing pole to Sonny, who is now saying, okay, cool, I believe what you're saying. I'm going to build this for myself. But here's the key. And I say this jokingly. When people ask me, is there any way you can guarantee this? There's no fucking way. I don't know if you drool. I don't know if you lick glass or if you wear a fucking helmet and bang your head off the windowsill. I have no idea how you're going to act when you get the information. What you build is exceptional. I can build you a fucking Lamborghini. But when you get in here, and here's the thing we were trying to figure out, and I've shared this since with Brandon is Sonny and I had a conversation when he started seeing success. I said, okay, I'm intrigued now. Not because I didn't think you could do it, Sonny. It's we got to figure out what the fuck it is that Joey's got sparked, what it is he did for his clients, and now what you're doing. And it all came down to one fucking thing, guys. I just said it a minute ago. Communication. You got to be able to fucking talk. You got to. Sonny took this first fucking phone call here from Santander. And the very first thing I prepare these guys for that right here, Carter. The fuck's his name? Right here. Robert C. Carter. Carter fucking was his name. I'll never forget shit because Sonny always calls me and it's all right. But Carter was the hey, this is fucking frivolous, it's meritless, and you're an ass clown, essentially, right, Sonny? That was it in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
And
So
I was
you're
and I
you're
was laughing because you told me that exact thing was going to happen like the
100%.
very first.
They
But yes, go ahead.
always
Sorry.
do that. They'll tell you it's frivolous, meritless. There's the presumptive horse shit that they see. Well, my client is gonna file a motion for arbitration, compel arbitration. Boy, that sounds familiar. You just saw a guy that lived through that. Guess what Sonny's not gonna fucking do? So, I went into attack mode. This is one of those where I get POAs on everybody, and here's the reason why. Because if I need to tap the fuck in, I'm gonna tap in knowing I'm not gonna get an unauthorized practice of law against me. But they did exactly what they said they were going to do. They filed their motion to compel arbitration right here, 22, docket 22. So here it is. You can look at that.
Real quick, can you go up to the top? I want to see this on if it's recapped, just real
Okay,
quick.
right
I
here.
This
don't think
is
so.
um Middle District of Tampa. This is going to be Faro v. Capital One Services. Faro.
And I gotta get that recap thing because I probably downloaded and looked at the same shit 100 times
Hmm.
and paid for it 100,000 times.
Yeah, if you do, it'll help because stuff like this now, everyone else, because you got to think, not only can everyone else access it for free, you can too, but even bigger than that, people don't even need a Pacer account because the Pacer
Yeah.
account can take some time and you have to get the PIN number in the mail. And, some people
Yeah.
may become interested and then, it's like, it's too much work. And then it just kind of, it can kind of peter off fast. Yeah, I don't think it's in Faro versus Capital One Services. Is that what it is?
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Capital Faro v. Capital One Services. And it's a federal case, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I think I just found it. Oh, yeah, I did find it. And yeah,
I bet
there's the complaint is recap. So somebody found it.
it's probably Brian.
Could have
So
been, yeah.
I will put a link to this one as well in the video description notes below on my YouTube channel, just by the way. Anyways, continue. I just wanted to say that real quick.
There is another Brandon with Brian that Sonny just referred to. He was at the Austin event too, and he's in the first cohort. There's some kind of a fucking app that will us as a group we can sign up for the app and if I fuck this up, Sonny, correct me. But if anybody puts anything or there's any movement on any of our cases, we'll all be notified through that app that's hooked into Recap somehow. Does that sound
I
right, Sonny?
think I think in recap, because if you go to recap, there's tags, there's add note, there's get alerts, and then there's also view on Pacer. So I think it's the get alerts tab, which is green at the top of the screen on each case on recap.
Well, that's through Recap for one case, but there's some type of an app he was talking about that all of us could be notified if somebody got something filed into Sonny's case, the entire group. So I
Oh,
do
that's
it
cool.
with, yeah, I do it with Facebook groups. We do a private group and then we share all our stuff that way. But so he's got Discover terminated, which means he's settled with them. He's got Santander, we just talked about, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. He's got Equifax settled, and he's got TransUnion. So he's got four. I think he's got five, maybe, and six in place out of the nine he's talking through. Does that sound right, Sonny?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Four settled, a couple on deck. Yeah.
yeah. So the motion to compel was something that was you guys should really take a look at because you're going to get that threat all the time, either a motion to compel arbitration or a motion to dismiss. That's all they have, guys, by the way. And if you build it the way and I'll kind of just quickly go through it. The first dispute, I'm telling you everything I found on Identity IQ that's fucked up. The second dispute is based off of your response or lack thereof. So now I'm saying, hey, you had a duty, pursuant to 15 USC 1681. You either didn't respond or you responded with some dumb shit. Here's my second response. And then I'm pointing out 16N and O, which is the damages piece of willful and negligent. And then I kind of wait on a response there, maybe, or at that particular point is when I'm establishing damages. I'm also going to go out, I'm giving you the entire sauce here, what I do. I go out now and I'm going to apply for something. In my Snap-on case, it was a $2.5 million loan for commercial property. I was denied. I knew I was going to be denied. I was lower than a 660 at that particular point. So now I let you know once. You responded, hey, fuck you. I'm reporting it outright. Then I responded a second time. I went and established damages. I also filed CFPB complaints. That's the overlord through the FTC. I let them know. And then I just basically build a notice of intent to sue after that, saying, hey, I'm getting ready to clock in and rack your ass. Just letting you know this last time, I'm giving you 15 days, let's say, to get this squared away. And that's when I filed the case after that. And that's exactly what Sonny did here. But then he's listening to at docket 22 or prior to that, the whole, oh, this is frivolous, it's meritless, you're a fucking clown. You don't have anything here. So when they filed the motion to compel on October 1st, he sent that to me and we talked through it. They also brought the water boy in, Cameron, who's, right out of law school, kind of stuff to handle it. So they play good cop, bad cop a lot. Carter comes out, tells you you're a fucking clown, it's frivolous. And then he puts the water boy in because he thinks I really don't need to do anymore. I flexed on this guy and he's scared shitless of me, which Sonny wasn't. So that's when I tapped in and says, okay, I got this one, bro. We went ahead and filed at that particular response and opposition or a motion to strike right here, 33. So we're motion to strike 22, which is their motion to compel arbitration. He
Can you
f-
go through that, Joey, though? Can you go through, like, are you going to go through how you got to that, to the motion to strike?
so yeah, I can. Do you want me to pull up the actual motion to
Well,
strike?
I mean, if you want to just briefly, like, just point out that you saw a deficiency,
Yep.
um, in their procedures or in the procedures.
One of the things I look at through a set of eyes that I've now become accustomed to is they will fuck something up. There is no doubt in my mind. It's ego, it's ignorance, whatever it is. So the first thing I started doing to get this motion to strike in place was I went and looked at everything procedurally, which I know Brandon, knows that I'm that way as well. I found three components that they were fucking up on. The first one was they are to file a disclosure statement in, which at the time of, so now I'm looking at not only the 7.1 rule, but I also look at the local rules too. What was it we found there in its entirety, Sonny? So that was the big
Well,
one.
yeah,
Lead
the big one was
counsel.
they didn't, yeah, in their disclosure, they didn't file their corporate disclosure.
The disclosure was not there at the time of filing the filing in the case. They did not have the lead attorney nailed down. So there's all kinds of procedural stuffs. And when I see must or shall, that's when I jump on it. But it worked. And that's the thing that could have saved me in the Amex case if I would have had that set of eyes that particular time. I want you to look when they filed the motion to compel, October 1st, motion to strike, October 2nd, and then notice of settlement by Santander. Isn't that interesting on October 3rd? First, they filed. Second, he says, fuck you, I'm moving to strike. And then they settled on the 3rd. That right there is something that I teach implicitly that most people do not do.
Now, notice means letting the court know of some sort of activity or thing that already took place. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
That's
So,
important. That's very important because
yeah.
the word notice is, hey, this already happened and we're
Yeah.
just letting you know. Very critical that people understand that word.
What Sonny is became very good at in the communication stuff, and I would expect that with him with his law enforcement background and being able to talk to these ass clowns. Now, it wasn't easy for him at the beginning. I mean, when six people filed in and immediately he's like, just like any of us, it's like overwhelming. But this one right here and being able to talk through and doing the motion to strike, and then that gave him the ability to have another meet and confer. And that is something that's important that I think a lot of people sleep on. Now, Sonny's not one of those. He tries to find reasons to talk to these folks, which he's right there with me. I think that's as long as you're
And that's something
communicating.
I've fucked up on very. I'm actually gonna, because I've been talking to Sonny and Joey like, not secretly but privately up leading up to this show. I'm what he's about ready to say, what Joey's about ready to say right now is something that I have also fallen down on very poorly, and I'm actually in the process of. I'm going to start really applying that a lot better and more aggressively myself.
Yeah. It's if you talk to them, you will always prevail. You could never convince me otherwise. There's too many people that get into these presumptive argument battles where they'll say one thing, you say something, and then they rattle off something else, and the court will take the last set of shit as facts. So when Sonny had the ability to reach out to them and talk about the motion to strike, Cameron already knew he fucked up. Cameron, whatever the fuck his name is, he knew he had fucked up when he saw the motion to strike, which would I believe would have gotten stricken. And then Sonny's talking to them and says, "Hey, would you like me to send you a Rule 408 letter?" Now, Sonny was at a point where he wanted to burn. The funniest thing about this, and I'm not saying anything that's not on the docket, so and I won't about any of the settlement and stuff. That's Sonny's his game. But he wanted to. Santander was not his most favorite company in the world. Let's just leave it at that. So when we're talking through this, it's what is your why, bro? What is it you're wanting to do? Do you want to do battle with these fucktards for the next 2 years? Well, no, Uncle Joey, I want to open up my cigar shop in Tampa. Cool. Well, you're going to be fighting with these dumb shits for 2 years if you want to continue down this path. If you did go arbitration, or even if not, it's like, okay, cool. Make your 408, which Rule 408 is 100% inadmissible evidence. Rule 408 pursuant to the rules of evidence. When you submit that letter, it's confidential between you and the other party. You're basically telling them, here's what I would do. It's also called an offer and compromise. I can end everything today, make your dreams come true. We'll relieve you of all of my claims from here on back through history. It'll be with prejudice, and I want these things. I want a couple of bucks to put in my pocket, and I want you to get your dumb ass off my credit profile. And if you make it that easy for them, what are they going to do? What's the alternative here?
Well, the beauty of it, and I think the thing that kind of finally sold me on the fact that I need to do it more often is they are compelled to take that offer
Yeah.
to the client. That's the
We're
part that's so powerful.
we're suspecting that's not always the case, and we pivoted a little bit, and that's the coolest thing by
Oh,
having a
I didn't. Okay.
well, I think that is what you're saying is 100% accurate, Brandon. I'm just not sold on because Sonny had a couple of people that were just basically fucking ignoring him. And he's like, what the fuck, bro? And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to not only send the 408 to them, but we're going to send it to the party as well, just in
Oh,
case
that's
they're not talking
right.
to
You
their
told
fucking
me
party.
about that.
Yeah,
That's
to the
right.
boss. So if they're not going to the boss and they're saying, "Hey, Sonny's an asshole. We think we got him here," you got to look at their billables and why they're in this
Yeah.
case. They want this thing to go on as long as is, but if Sonny is offering them something that's just minimal and just get your shit off of my credit profile that obviously you're reporting out inaccurately, and I've told you multiple times. That's one of those mob rule offers you can't refuse kind of thing. So anyway, he's been very successful with that. And another thing that we do is we 100%, anytime they open up their fucking in mouths, we respond in opposition to everything. And when he does
Yeah.
that, it gives
Yeah.
them the opportunity to go in with a, hey man, can we do a meet and confer? And can I send you a 408? That's what it's all about.
And that's what I've been missing. That right
Yeah.
there is a huge piece that I've been missing for sure.
Hmm.
I wanted $100 million in flesh and blood. I wanted to paint my walls with violence. I wanted to string their guts down from the ceiling fan, so it rains blood on and my whole apartment for like the next month. You know what I mean?
And honestly, that's where Sonny was at. I mean, he may or may not tell you that with Santander, but the irony is that's the first fucking people he let out of the case. I think that's the
Mm.
funniest thing is, now he's got attorneys, and I'll let him speak on this. Is there's attorneys coming. Here's what I want for everybody that I talk to. Sonny could tell you, and I'll just whip through it real quick. I want you to get your money back that you gave me, all your Federal Reserve notes. That's my goal for you. The second thing I want for you is I want your credit score at 800 or above. And the third thing is I want you to have to learn a skill set that you're going to be able to take for the rest of your days and help out as many. For Sonny, it's his law enforcement brother. I would hope.
Now,
So,
real quick, just a quick tap on that, which I've done before, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it every time we have this conversation. For people who are not aware yet and they've been listening to this, they need to stop and take a deep breath and realize what Joey just said is a different avenue for infinite currency.
mm,
You can get all the loans you want. You can do whatever you want. You can buy hookers and cocaine and new cars and Lamborghinis. You can go crazy. And then when your credit profile explodes and you're at a 220, you can go and sue, have it all cleaned up, and then repeat the process. It is in itself a full blown, entirely self supporting. You don't need anyone. Once you learn all this, you don't need anyone outside of yourself to continue that same cycle over and over and over again forever. And that is extremely powerful. So, yes, there are certain angles to this that some of my audience may be like not thrilled about. But the thing is that we're just building out various avenues to essentially the same ultimate purpose, if you think about it.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and a
It,
little
go
disclaimer
ahead.
too. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. A little disclaimer because I know we went through this, Joey, and it's kind of like, and you were the, I don't think you care, but you were the test dummy, and then you were showing, you gave some examples like live, well, not live, but very acute on how like what you can do once you fix your credit score, and
Hmm.
it's pretty amazing being able to just walk into a bank and they're offering you a $20,000 credit limit just because they ran your name. But also, I think another good point is that we've talked about many a times. Okay, okay, there's the proof.
That's two twenty
They just
thousand dollar credit cards I haven't even activated yet. So it's
Well,
business
well,
line.
I told Joey this though, just like Joey is literally, so let's just really be honest. White guy, married for a long, long, long fucking time, like extremely long fucking time, especially in today's world.
32 years.
Lives in Indiana, owns a moderate home, has been there for a long time. I think the home is paid off. He's
Paying off,
owned
yeah.
all sorts of businesses. He hasn't moved around 800. I mean, literally, like if there was a 100 box checklist of like the banker special, like he literally checks like 99 of those, if not even maybe even 100. Like it's beyond just the number. but he's literally so fucked that they like won't even let him leave without fucking cards in his hand. So I just want to be transparent about the fact that it's more than just a number. I'm sure a number you could probably get something. And then same thing with you, Sonny, police officer, 16 years, lived in the same place, fucking looks, 15 years younger than his age, very well spoken. I mean, this is like, come on, this is there's the number is
Thanks,
one
Brandon.
thing. The number is one thing. The number is like maybe what, 60, 70%, but then you have the other 40 or 30% of all these other boxes. For example, certain professions such as doctors, dentists, they get treated like fuck. If you're a dentist and you start doing this shit, you're not going to walk out of there with 220s. You're going to walk out of there with 240s. I've seen it because I was in the dental industry. Or you're going to walk out there with $200,000 credit lines, whether you like it or not. They'll practically force it down your throat. So there's more to this. I just want to be clear. So somebody might think, oh, I got an 800 yesterday, and they drive up there and they got a joint in their mouth and they're walking into the bank. There's more. There's a little more to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I was speaking in broad terms,
No, I
but
know. I just want to. I just
um,
want to say that
yeah, no,
because
that's good
it it's
clarification.
becomes
It
this magic. It's just this magic that it's just. Yeah. Anyways, that's all.
I'll interject
it
real quick before Sonny continues.
yeah.
Here's where Brandon and I disagree a little bit, and that's okay. Now, the part we agree on is if you have an 800 and you're making 15 fucking bucks an hour and you think you're going to get a Lambo, there are people out there that believe that dumb shit. That's not going to happen. Now, there was another young man that's still part of our first cohort, even though I haven't seen him in a while, and Sonny knows who he is. But he's the one that initiated because he's like the business credit guy. And that's the reason he wanted to be a part of the Austin event and then ultimately wanted to be a part of the cohort. He's a little Greek fucking guy, young. He's young. He's probably about Brandon's age, maybe a little bit younger than Brandon. He works at a fucking Greek restaurant, and he was the one that went to Chase Bank and fucking got like 120K in credit lines. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was right there with Brandon. I was like, this shit's not possible, bro. Well, as Sonny said, test dummy Joey here. Well, I said, fuck it. I'm above an 800. Watch this. I'll go in. And I literally in 22 hours had those two cards. Now, that's the part I agree with, but I'm like, if this fucking little Greek immigrant guy can go from Austin, Texas, working in a Greek restaurant and get 120K at Chase Bank, and it naturally leads us into, which I appreciate. And this is Sonny, and I don't think he's testing me to see where my moral compass is at, but it's good for him. And I think his background is what leads to these questions is, over a cigar one night, he's saying, hey, if you go, because I went and applied for PNC, which is where those cards are from. I applied for a business, or not applied, but I opened a business line at Bank of America and also Chase Bank. Well, Chase Banks has been doing everything but calling me up and asking to send hookers to my house and stuff like they truly want me to have because I can show them, income and all of that other good stuff that they want to see, they think. So I know that it's very possible. And the question that Sonny asked me over a cigar one night is, okay, you go to Chase, you get a 100K line, you start running ads, whatever the fuck it is. Are you going to pay Chase Bank back? You remember that question, Sonny?
Yeah, and that's where I was going, but go ahead.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I said abso-fucking-lutely because there are people that will hear this, and especially Brandon and Joey and Sonny talking about infinite money and their little fucking wheels will get turning. And they're right, by the way. There are 4,000 banks out there, so 4,000 opportunities to be the next Elon. But the thing that I said to Sonny was absolutely, I'm going to pay Chase Bank. I'm never going to go into it with any thoughts of I'm going to fraudulently take this somehow. If I take 100 grand, I'm going to go out and spend 100 fucking grand on whatever it is I'm going to do to build the next version of me. But next month, I'm going to say, hey, Chase, you're a perfect partner. I want 200 grand now. I'm always going to go into it with that mindset. Now, if shit goes sideways, as it does in some matters, I'm not going to lead by fear. I'm going to go in and I'll burn down that relationship just like I did with Amex. There's the part that I think people want to hear is I'm not going to go in with fear, but I'm also not going to go in with that mentality that I'm going to fucking somehow defraud Chase or anybody else. I would never do that. I want to pay them back. I want to be a perfect partner with these relationships. But if it goes sideways, I now know the litigation piece of it right here. I'm not too terribly worried about that. So it's a good disclaimer, I guess, that You were going to say something else, Sonny.
Well, that's what I was going to get into. I don't think it like this process with litigation involving 15, 1681 should be abused. I
No.
think it should be like, hey, you're being given a key to the city and just don't abuse the key. You know what I mean? Like,
Sonny's sounding like a
I
cop right now.
no, but don't. I mean, you would have to agree because, like, I mean, you're kind of like, I don't know, because I would imagine. I mean, yeah, you can rinse and repeat all you want. I get it, but I mean, I just know how some people are and some of the groups and stuff, and it's probably gonna go crazy.
Well,
So I
just
don't
think,
know.
think about this is good because my generation and older think litigation is horrible. It's bullshit, but we also have all been programmed, my generation and older. And, I'm talking to my wife about this, and oh my God, honey, you got six cards and you owe $154,000 conversation. And it's one of those that I will very quickly say, who's breaking the law? Is Joey breaking the law by not paying his bills? No, you could never show me any statute or otherwise. Maybe morally it's wrong. I don't know. Whatever you want to live with. But I can show you in this 1681 process that we went through now a few times where they are clearly breaking the laws. Amex is. I'm telling you that you're doing stuff. I now have got damages of 2.5 million bucks. So, and it's one of those you've used this actually on Discover, Sonny. I'll pay
Hmm.
you your 11 fucking thousand. You send me my 65,000 and we'll be friends. We laugh about that. But that's one of those where the attorney, it has to be their idea to take that back to. So there's a byproduct here that we haven't talked about either. And again, it's Sonny's, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds, but if he gets his money back he gave me, I'm going to win. And he's got his scores already 200 and something points higher with just having the four out. And the third part of it, which is even bigger yet, is there is debt that he has been able to settle away that they would have sued him into the future. You want to talk through that a little bit, Sonny?
Well, just real quick before you, and then my viewpoint is, when I realize how all this stuff works, I realize we're all getting bent over and fucked every fucking day, and I want to train 500,000 people to go out and burn the whole fucking system to the ground so we can get our gold and silver back as per the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10.
I
So
agree with that though
for
too.
me, the word fraud, there's only one party that I can pin that on, and it's going to be hard to pin them on it because if it's them, I have to prove that they knew what they were doing, and that's the part that I think isn't there. I don't think I can prove fraud on them because I don't think literally anybody, I'm not even so sure that even Steven Squeri, the fucking CEO, has any
Right.
idea what's really going on. So that was something I had to learn slowly. And when you start to learn that, you start to get a lot less angry because the thing is, you
Mhm.
think these people, why would Steven Squeri go to fucking work 80 hours a week? These guys work like dogs. Why would he go 60, 80 hours a week to that building if he knew this stuff? Why bother? You
Mhm.
know, maybe he just enjoys it. That's totally possible. But the thing is that I just don't, why would you like these huge CEOs and stuff? They get worried about getting fired. Well, who cares if you get fired? Like if you really knew what was going on, everything just becomes so fucking irrelevant, and they just don't behave that way. So I have to kind of presume they don't really know what's going on. So it's like I don't think I know for a fact I'm not committing any fraud. You got to be fucking kidding me. I'll laugh in your
Right.
face. I'll piss in your mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the idea that they would be they're committing fraud is also difficult for me to really swallow. You would have to prove that they know what's going on, and that's what I think is missing. I don't think there's really fraud on either side. I think the system is just this runaway train. It's literally just a fucking runaway train. Nobody's really at the wheel at all. So for me,
I agree.
the idea of just let's just crash this fucking train and be done with it. If we can somehow make it up to the front of the train and just fucking jerk the wheel and just smash it on the side of the, I'm kind of I'm okay with that too. You know what I mean? So for me, I really don't care because my ultimate goal is to return to a constitutionality, which is Article 1, Section 10, which states no state shall, there's that word shall, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments of debts. And if you look up the legal tender cases, the way they got around this was they said that the District of Columbia is not legally a state as per its definition in the Constitution, which is correct. It's an administrative zone. It's not a state. That's why you can't become a state citizen of Washington, D.C. It's physically impossible. You can only be a resident. So the thing is that that's how they got around it, and technically they are correct. It's a Federal Reserve note is a federal obligation on behalf of the District of Columbia. It's not an obligation on behalf of the states. So that's the part that I'm like, fucking go ahead, crash the train. Go ahead. Fucking send out, 400,000 people to go crash the train. I have no problem with that. I have no qualms with that. If I were to get prosecuted criminally for fraud, I would laugh the whole time. I'd be in tears laughing. So to me, I just have a different viewpoint on it. But either way, I get why someone would want to just pay it and play the game too. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that's wrong. I just say pick your lane, whatever lane you want is fine. Just the main issue is just the ignorance associated with all of this. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a considerable amount, and some people get very angry very fast. Here I am playing in the commerce world as a United States 14th Amendment citizen, and I'm proud to be that. I got Donnie's MAGA stuff all over the place, and I think there's one of those things where I'm always going to play in the system, and I'm happy to be there. I'm in commerce, but yet maybe I'm very private outside of that. I don't own anything personally, but I'll sure as hell jump in here and I'll mix it up. I'll get a bunch of Federal Reserve notes that aren't backed by the gold industry, and quite honestly, I don't give a fuck. Honestly, I would love to see it restored back just as Brandon stream, but it's not something I lay out at night and talk about. There's certain things that I think we're going to definitely disagree on. I don't
But we don't
know.
necessarily disagree. That's the point. It's not even really like a disagreement, really, if you think about it.
There's a
It's a
minimal.
differences of importance. It's just a difference in interest or curiosity, really, if you think about it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily define that as a disagreement. You see?
Well, I think that to say that I'm a huge proponent of everybody tapping into what most think is there is the Federal Reserve window, I would say absolutely not. I think that's the most horrible idea. I mean, you can point to the Allen Iversons who've had $77 million contracts and are broke in a fucking year. I mean, there's too much. If everybody got it, we're a fucking society that's fatter than shit right now anyway. I mean, just think about all of the boats and hoes and stuff that would be out there if everybody had infinite access to just go to the reserve window and you get that. There's a study here, and
But
you guys.
the part that upsets me is they have it and we don't. Why do they get it and we can't have it? That's the
Well,
part.
you can.
If no one should have it, then no one should have it. You see what I mean? Like either take it away from those guys and then nobody gets it, or both directions are irrelevant because it's non-constitutional anyways in the states. So it's only relevant for the District of Columbia, Guam, Puerto, U.S. territories and insular possessions. Outside of that, it's an irrelevant conversation. But that's the part where I have a problem.
Well,
You
there's
say
there's
you say not
assumptions.
everyone should have it, but the thing is, all these guys have it. They get to keep it. Why are they the only one? Why does the privileged class, the unworking, unproductive, they're not doing anything good for society. They're probably the ones sowing a lot of all the confusion to make sure nobody even finds out about this stuff on purpose. Because if we all find out, we're going to take it away from them. Why do they get it and we don't get it? That's the part that pisses
Well,
me.
the part that I don't know is who are they and what do they have
The
access to?
people, all the people who have banks or who run banks or who understand this process, and the people who are part of the board of the Federal Reserve, I don't know which ones of them know and which ones don't, but the people behind them for sure obviously know. The Bank of International Settlements, that kind of thing,
It's the
they definitely
lizards.
know, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, but
that
I don't know. I don't know what the process is. That's the part that I think we differ in
the
because
12 USC 412, the process of writing an application for notes and then
yeah.
swapping those notes
But there are
using the
morons
discount
even in
window.
your page that thought that me as a dealer had access. You'll hear that. You'll say, "Oh, them fucking dealers." I owned four dealerships, and I promise you, I never went to the Federal Reserve window once. And the
Yeah, but
lenders
there's
that were
also things like I'm not so sure Ford Finance, for example, is that just a bank that has the Ford name on it that processes the instruments without even really necessarily being connected to Ford as like a separate section. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing that I think.
Well, I think that's it. There's a bunch of assumptions there about are they this or are they that? And it's like the thing you and I do definitely agree on is the whole fucking equity thing that you went batshit nuts about when I've been talking about it forever. This is the same thing for me, Brandon. And I know you'll be there someday to say, is there really even anybody going through this window? And what is that all about? And blah, 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 blah. If somebody shows me one, I'll be the one that'll take that and I'll become fucking Tucker Carlson as far as investigating that stuff. But nobody can. My lenders never went to a Federal Reserve window. The people like the United Credits and
I'm not even sure the people who put the endorsements. If you look at all the endorsements I've collected up, and you see the without recourse, pay to the order of blah 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 blah, and you see that name and that signature, and it says things like, office this or vice president or this and that. What if who even knows if those
They
people
definitely
really
don't.
know what they're going on?
exactly. Yes, that's the part that I'm having a tough time with. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they are doing, but I know 1681 like the back of my hand. And if I need money, I'll just go out and pull on that thing.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to show here, yeah, I need proof. This John B. Calhoun this is a study you guys can go look at. It's only 9 pages, but it talks about behavioral, and he's studying a mice community back in the fucking 50s and 60s. You may have even seen this. It's a badass study, but it's kind of along the lines of what I'm talking about. So these mice get put in this study, and it's 4 groups of mice. They're brought in and they're given everything, food, water, and they're taken away from predators. And if you look at this, they get their little mice dicks out and they start fucking like it's 1999 because they have all of their needs taken care of. Their whole world and existence and everything they need. And there's no natural predators, so they fuck like crazy. They in 55 days they're doubling the size of their community to where at some point it hits a threshold. And again, this is nine pages. I don't want to get into this too far, but it's a great study to look at from a behavioral standpoint. It's one of those government studies that we all know and love so well. So it talks about the very topic that we're talking about right now, in my mind, as to what would happen if we all had access and we had no fucking purpose on this world other than to go to a Federal Reserve window and stuff. That's where me, the 55-year-old guy in the Midwest, I have a tough time thinking through that. And this is a perfect example of this to where when they reached a certain threshold, I think it was 900 days, they started fucking going to extinction. The women became aggressive. The men fucking put their little mice dicks away and kind of crawled over in the corner. They didn't want to fucking, there was no fucking, there was nothing. I mean, it was just, there was no purpose and stuff. So anyway, good study. I don't think we need to go through that. I thought I'd bring it
Yeah,
up
I
if you
don't
were into it.
disagree. I don't disagree with you, and I think what would happen even before that is I think as more and more Americans, the average American just wants to not have inflation so bad that it's $20 for a fucking
Yeah.
sandwich and $900,000 for a fucking stick house in the middle of the boonies. And it's getting worse by the second. And all the young people can't afford anything. The young people can't. They'll never buy a house ever, especially if things keep getting worse and worse. It's just that we're cooked. No one is ever going to own a house ever again. So you and I and maybe even Sonny, we're on one side of the equation where we have things and we're established and this and that. But think about people who are younger, maybe below the age of like 33, the amount of frustrations and difficulties and hopelessness. There's entire articles about how hopeless the younger generation is. They can't do anything. They can't entry level positions, or you have to have an associate's degree to
Mhm.
even get them. And people are coming out of college and they're getting, minimum wage, which you can't even have a studio apartment at minimum wage in most places.
Yeah,
So,
man.
so it's there's this whole huge section, and that section is growing. I think the average homeowner's age today, I saw a couple of press releases recently now, is 61 years old is the
Mm.
average homeowner in America. That's outrageous and unacceptable.
Wow.
The birth rate is being destroyed. If you can't have a home, I would never have children inside this fucking little apartment I have ever. It would never happen. I would need some kind of small home, something with a couple bedrooms in it, something before I'm going to feel comfortable having kids. If you can never have a home, then how are kids going to work? You're going to have kids with your roommates, with your buddies that you live in. It's getting crazier and crazier and crazier, and it's kind of like just pull the lever and dump everything. People are not going to go to the window, and we're not going to have a society of people going to the window. You're going to have a rush on the window. Everyone else is going to be pissed off about it. There's going to be, and then they're going to overthrow the financial system, and they're going to need to do something about it. It's never going to actually go to where everyone's going to the window. It's never going to happen. Most Americans, when they realize what's really going on, and even the guy from Ford, Henry Ford, said this as a quote: if people in America found out how the financial system really works, there'd be a revolution overnight, right? And I think that's really what it is. It's not. I don't teach the window so that people can go to the window. I teach the people so that they can see how fucked up this thing is, and they can see how they're getting fucked all the time, and that every time they sign anything, they're repaying for it when it was already paid. And all the big fat asses with their cigars, up in their big offices are getting whatever they're getting. And if everyone went to the window for a short time, or if everybody got pissed off about it and just understood what it was, we're going to have an evolution or a revolution, or however you want to look at it, one way or the other. But I don't ever think we're going to have a Federal Reserve window centric society. I don't think that's even possible.
No, I think if you gave everybody a
Definitely not.
million bucks, it's going to revert back
Oh yeah.
anyway. They're going to
Oh
piss
yeah.
it away, and the
That's what I, oh
people.
yeah, 100%. 100%. I think what people want is they want gold and silver coins where you could buy a home back way back, during the golden age of gold and silver coins. 1874 to 1914 was the golden era of silver and gold coins. You could buy a home with, like, 5 or 6 weeks worth of, like a low paying job. You could buy a home. You could buy a car with a week or two's worth of working. I mean, you could flip burgers and buy a home in, like, months.
Mhm.
And I think that's what people really want. They want people contributing to the society, but it shouldn't take until 61 fucking years old to have a house.
I think a
Agreed.
lot of people think they don't want to be a part of the system, and then they go right back to the system. And that's whether that's with driver's license, whether that's with whatever the fuck it is. If 42 million people on EBT and SNAP, and I'm not going to be, fanfare by saying that. That is just ridiculous. It's a system that I'm all for if it's need based. But to say 42 million motherfuckers, where a majority of those people are probably on some type of retirement plan with that system, go into a protest one day saying we don't want kings, and then the next day turn around saying you better have my EBT activated, motherfucker. It's just I don't understand that whole thought process, and I think we would all agree on that to say I'm the most. If somebody is in need, that's great, and I'm all for helping them out. But to say that there's that big of a need is just not a reality. I think we're falling
Before
flat.
before the Civil War, if you behave like that, they'd strip your citizenship.
Yeah,
Dead serious. You can look it up. You can look it up in the history books.
yeah, which
And
is
and they
crazy.
even they even had zones that they would send the people to. They would literally ship them to other places in the country, and they'd strip their citizenship.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, for me, this is my attempt to do what I know is very well. So for me to say I've set my baseline at 850 now is not an understatement. I know now that if I go out and I apply for something that's need based, I'm again, these two credit cards are sitting here. I probably never will activate them. I just did that for my cohorts to show them, that it could be done. But if I went out and applied for something today, naturally my score is going to drop. I can tell you what's going to happen within 3 months. I'm going to have it back to an 850 because I know what now 850 looks like and how to get there and how to stay, just like I did before. So if I go take something, and I consulted a kid one time in New York that he was running a Turo business. I think I've shared this with you guys, but he had a whole bunch of fucking cars on, and he was the salt of the earth. I mean, he's in his 20s. He was paying everything well. There's a lot of people that do that, but yet his utilization rate was so fucking high that his score was like 525. And he's like, "What can I do, Joey?" And I said, "Get everything off your fucking profile. Your profile is your profile. That's what people don't understand. You can control it." And Sonny's showing you exactly how to do
Hmm.
that here right now. It's his to fucking dispute or not dispute, whatever the fuck. But if he just wanted to get him in and do work and say, "Get your shit off my report," all of these attorneys would fucking go away quick. But he's doing a little more work. One, he wants to recoup his money, and then two, he's walking away from some debt loads that were on there that he doesn't get to have to deal with now, which is beautiful. But if you truly just want to, if I went in there and some shit changed on mine, I'll have it off within 3 months. There's no doubt in my mind. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sonny's done some really good work here. The thing I like about his judge, and that's the key, whenever we're talking about me building it out, I can build you something, Sonny can show you all of that stuff, but Brandon's district in the Central District of California may have a completely a different outcome. You can have all of the nuts and bolts and everything nailed down. I think I have a perfect system. There's no doubt in my mind. We have a little Japanese gal with us that's in the Northern District of California right now, and she's doing very well, I think. It's all on how you communicate once you get in there. You've got to be able to communicate. If you can't communicate with lawyers and judges, this is not the this is don't do this. Please don't litigate at all ever because that your success depends on whether you can talk to people and know what your claims are and know that you've been damaged and truly feel that other than barking out some stupid shit and filing documents. That's one thing I can create you any documents, but if you don't know how to present those documents and have a conversation on what the meaning of those documents is, you're not going to be successful at all. And this Sonny's, when did he come in? He filed September 9th. And here was so what
So
just
fast.
yeah, just about 2 months later, he's pretty well nailed down. He's raised his score, he's got most of his money back, and he's walked away from uh at least 5 figures worth of debt that would have been coming back at him. So all good stuff.
I've been talking about filing mine, and I've already done all the steps, and I've got all the evidence, and I just the amount of effort and work that went into making that writ of certiorari that I made for the SBA
Yeah.
case, and then also I was writing my book at the same time. Like I am just fucking absolutely cooked
Mm.
right now, and I just need a little bit of like not staring at fucking words endlessly for like all day, every day, like a freak all the time for like just a minute. But I have everything. I literally have everything. Like I think I even have a rough draft of the complaint somewhere in my notes. So I know I've said it a million times, but I really do plan on getting mine filed at some point in the near-ish future.
Yeah, good. That notice of intent to sue, that's a big one along with the damages. Those two components right there. If you've told them and then you put them on notice and you've got damages in there somewhere, CFPB complaint, that's the biggest components in my opinion to have good conversations with the attorneys once they file in. And I look at things completely different as Sonny knows. As soon as the fucking person files in, you better be on them. You need to call them, you need to reach out, you need to send them an email, say, hey, I'd love to have a meet and confer, and just show them you're not a fucking crazy goofball, man. And let them blow off their stupid shit about how they're going to file a motion. Oh, hey, it's great, man. If you're going to file a motion to dismiss, but man, I can really help. Would you like me to send you a Rule 408 offer and compromise? Oh, sure. And 9 times out of 10, you can have your case done right there if you're not going batshit nuts. Now, Sonny was at first with Santander, but when they had a little back and forth, and you saw in 2 days they were settled. They just had to have that little spat. They had to flex on each other. They had to, posture and all of that good stuff. And then it was good. I'll never forget. I mean, Sonny knows I'm on the beach in Hawaii, and he's fucking, oh man, there's 6 people filed in, and then when I finally got home, he was having his little spat with Santander, and I said, hey, take 2 deep fucking breaths, and he started. I said, take 2 deep fucking breaths, man, because the natural their job is to raise make get an emotional response out of you. I guess that's the best way to put it. And they're good at that. I mean, even when you talk, Sonny's a great communicator. I view myself as one, and I know Brandon is as well. When it comes to right down to it, they're going to try to get an emotional response out of you. That's all their job is. So if you can head that off at the path, and you know that You've got great evidence built. You have solid damages, which Sonny did, and then you can communicate. You're going to be fine. I mean, um, that's kind of it,
And the
Mitchell.
thing is that you guys that are watching this that may not have litigated, or you may have litigated a little bit. I mean, the only reason why we are where we are is because we decided to enter the fray. Joey specifically, you can see from all the dates and stuff, it was before him and I really even met. And then I entered the fray, and him and I have been doing, 80 million different things over the past year. I mean, my God, I
Hmm.
think I think you and I have worked on at least 10 cases together this year. And then you have several of your own. And then I have some of my own. And then I just went to the Supreme Court too, which is insane. So you guys are benefiting. We have found some really, really key items, and we try to take the diamonds and bring them up to the surface. Diamond number one is Rule of Evidence 301, involving presumptions and how
Yeah.
presumptions operate. That was somewhere near the middle of the year. Him and I did all sorts of Title 18 stuff and got our fucking heads smashed in over no private right of action. We had to figure all that stuff out. A lot of you guys have done that, but a lot of people have come before us. They did that, they got smashed, and then they gave up. And there's just this fucking literal graveyard of people who have filed in Title 18 claims. They got kicked out for no private right of action. They flipped out and did God knows what, paper terrorism, who knows. And then they said, fuck it, everyone's a Freemason. They sacrificed children, and I'm done with this system. And they've been that way
Uh,
ever since. So the thing is that now that Joey and I have been doing this long enough, other people have also come in and they're doing stuff and we're looking at their stuff. And it's been this kind of slow wave over this year, starting at the beginning of 2025, to the point where now we have all these diamonds, and I'm organizing some of my particular diamonds over here, such as how to combat the sovereign citizen stuff, the vapor money theory, stuff like that, which is very difficult, but we're just taking it 1 yard at a time. And then Joey's over here with a lot of the procedural stuff that I didn't want to look at for most of the time we've been working together, until I finally had enough. And I decided at the beginning of 25 that I was going to start taking a lot of that stuff very seriously. This whole year has been me taking procedure a lot more seriously, and me reading tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of cases all the way through, all the way to the beginning of our country. I've been reading cases. So now we're getting to the point now where, with these cohorts and the groups and our stuff and recap, we're starting to build out this base where we're all learning from each other, and we're starting to get a lot of like really key aspects of the puzzle put into place. And now people are able to, like, the fact that Sonny on his first shot can do this
mhm.
with minimal effort in 3 months is literally fucking insane. It was never, ever, ever fucking possible, ever. This is a completely, it's, you start on the 0 yard line, and he ran all the way through to the 100 yard line with minimal effort in 3 months is just fucked. I have practically died trying to get 2 fucking yards most of the time on the playing field. So the thing is that we're continuing to place these little flags in the ground, and we're continuing to find what's important. Settlement 408s and talking with the attorneys. This is a huge, huge, huge diamond that I wasn't aware of. I never did it. Joey found it. Joey found Rule of Evidence 301, the whole presumption game. I'm the one finding a lot of the research involving the 14th Amendment, state citizenship, this kind of thing. But that's going to be more difficult to fully flesh out. It could be years before we have a lot of that stuff completely fleshed out, especially with the negotiable instruments. I have my MX case is still with the Ninth Circuit right now, and it's a really, really solid for anyone who hasn't seen that yet. It's my MX appeal. You should look at the opening brief. You should look at the answering brief, and you should look at the reply brief, which was filed on, I think, in September. It's amazing. It goes through state citizenship. It goes through negotiable instruments. It breaks down the whole thing, how negotiable instruments work, how every single transaction is a product. Everything's in there. So to me, that appeal might be the very, very first time we see a court actually talk about this stuff. But we'll see. They might just throw it out, say nothing, and we'll see. So, but the thing is, we just have to keep doing this on every single angle and just keep moving forward. And we're starting to standardize a lot of these processes, and we're starting to standardize what really matters and what doesn't. And I just feel like this is completely new territory. It's never happened in the entire fucking history of like the entire fucking human race. It's so big. It's so awesome. And why someone wouldn't want to be a part of it, it's to me, it's just absolutely batshit fucking insane.
Yeah. You hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sonny.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm neck deep in this stuff and I love it. I just that's all I wanted to say. Like it's not like I wouldn't say that it's easy. It's obviously very beneficial to have a Joey on in your corner, but um but yeah, the more this drags along, I mean, yeah, does it consume my brain? Do I go to sleep thinking about the motions that I'm filing and how I'm gonna like and then I go and file something and I'm like, "Oh God, did I get everything in there that I needed to get in there?" So like I don't want to make it like, yeah, I'm just fucking like blowing off fucking motions and responses and response and oppositions. It does, at least for me, consume my like I literally go to bed thinking about it and I wake up like, okay, like going through scenarios. I'm sure you guys, obviously you guys know, but yeah, I just don't want to make it like it's like, yeah, fucking, you know,
I
it's
saw
it, yeah,
Sonny wavering a little bit there early on, and it was right when he was retiring. So he's had a lot of life events going on too, and that happens. But then he's like, "Hey man, JP Morgan showed up at my mom's house and anyway, long story short, he's getting sued and I heard something. I shared this a while back. I heard him say, "Great, now I got to deal with another case." I'm like, "Oh fuck, I got to get him a win fast." So that's when we kind of kicked in that Santander shit into overdrive because it can be a bit daunting. And I'm laughing when Sonny's explaining kind of his experience. And he said this the other night on our Zoom call. So part of the cohort is we have a bi-weekly Zoom call where I'll put a module out and then we talk about it the week after, so about 9 days. And he said something that I've heard a lot of. He's like, I don't know how in the fuck you did it without a Joey. And then Brian's like the other guy in a cohort. He's like, yeah, man, I don't know. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but it is. I was just getting my face smashed off the fucking ground. A lot of that stuff you see on the docket was me just having to learn through. But the biggest thing that I tell people to do is get in your district, type in 1681 or a 480 case and just fucking look at what the bar cards are doing. Type in your favorite, for me, I just looked up Amex. I pulled about five different complaints off of the Indiana Southern District, and I just studied those. I saw what they were doing, and I put my shit in there, and then just developed the disputing method around that and stuff. And that was it. I mean, and that's what Sonny's following to the T, and it's working. But yeah, people have asked me that, when I'm talking about bringing somebody into the cohort, I'll have a call with them. So I'll set up a Calendly and then we'll just talk openly, and I'll try to kick down hurdles and maybe even talk them out of it. I'm notorious for saying, man, maybe this isn't for you because I don't. You've got to have the right mindset to go into this. If you're not there, then you're going to suffer. And the biggest question comes up to me is how long will this take? So I have two doctors in my cohorts, one in the first and one in the second. I have quite a few veterans in there and stuff. So, people are asking me how long does it take? And again, I don't know if you fucking lick glass and bang your head off I don't know where you're at mentally and what you can handle. For me, it's 2, 3 hours a week, but I've been doing this for a while. For you and Sonny's probably going to agree is it can consume a lot in certain periods of time. Just as Brandon and I know, we'll have client stuff happen and it'll be boom and it'll hit us all at once. And we're like, holy fuck. And it's like a full-time job all of a sudden. And then boom. And then it goes away and we're not talking for like weeks at a time. And it's like this in this case here in Sonny's docket here is you'll get hit at certain times. Like I was telling you, I'm on the beach. I feel like a general calling in napalm strikes, because he's got so much going on. And then we walk away and there's a period, where it gets calm again and then it kind of rises back up. But he can kind of drive how fast or how slow he wants the case to go. The bar cards, most of them, especially for the big companies, they have maintenance agreements in place, monthly maintenance agreements. So if you want to drag it on for the next 10 years, they don't give a shit. And the way that I always teach it is we're going to get out Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion first and foremost. We're going to give them the deal of the fucking century because we want your credit score to just shoot up through the roof. And then if you want to take the next for him, it's six more defendants on for the next 2 years. Who gives a shit? You can take them to the mat if you want to, or you can, settle with them on your terms. So, yeah, that's kind of it, man. All good stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I've learned to love losing because I was just so emotional for so long. And then eventually I was just like, I just became this, I guess, madman that just laughs all the way to the fucking L, you know? I don't know really how else to explain it. I've just learned to love the process, and I've just learned to be more interested in trying this and doing that. I'm a little bit more of like a chemist. I feel like I'm just going to mix shit in, and when it explodes in my face, I just laugh nowadays.
yeah.
But the thing is, if I know if I do that long enough, we're gonna figure some things out. I mean, there's no other way around it. So I look at it as a bit more of a long game, but
Mhm.
it's ultimately the same mentality.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I was
definitely a long game. For some of your arguments, especially, around negotiable instruments and stuff like that, we have pretty good complaints, and we have actually at least one client right now that we're actively working on a case like that in North Carolina. So that's all good
Yeah,
stuff.
we have
But
stuff going on in the background that I don't talk about, and he
yeah,
doesn't talk about, because that's like our laboratory. And then as the laboratory kind of moves forward, we decide what is going to get published out of that laboratory and
mhm.
what's not. But obviously, the docket items are there's no getting around that. If there's a docket, then I mean, everything's there. So
Very rarely do I kind of step out of this lane right here. I love 1681. 1692 is its first cousin, I would call it, and that's the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That's when those collectors come after you. I love that one. I don't talk too much about it. But every now and then I shared this in our cohorts, both of them, and I actually shared it with Brandon. I'm not going to share the name, but I'll share just a brief overview of the story. This is a criminal one. And it was somebody coming to the cohort to see us, and he's going through the Kentucky airport
you
with
should
a
unshare
fucking.
the screen real quick, Joey, just so that you can be full screen on the talking
Uh,
because your screen's still shared.
okay, yeah.
I figured if you're going to tell a story, it might be good to just take that down. There we go.
There you go.
Brandon's like the producer. You could
Kind
tell
of,
He's
it
yeah.
like,
Kind
you
of,
know what I
yeah.
mean? He's good, man.
there he is. Yeah. So the guy's going through the Kentucky airport, Cincinnati, goes over to Kentucky, whatever the fuck, all those hillbillies down there, and he's got 5 kids. Sonny knows the entire story because I shared the win last week. But he's coming out, he's flying out to Austin to see us, and he somehow just loses train of thought, and he has a fucking 9 millimeter in his backpack. He gets to TSA, and TSA stops him, and all of this. And anyway, when he gets home, he's in the cohort, and he reaches out to me, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, this is going to be expensive, bro." And we got that all kind of worked out. And first and foremost, you missed a fucking hearing May 22nd. That's a huge obstacle for us to take care of. So we have to file a motion for leave for continuance and this, that, and the other. And anyway, there's the whole thing of coaching behind it. But he had to go down there 3 different times. And it's like the biblical thing where the chick gets in front of the judge and he's finally like, get this fucking chick. I knew he would be fine because the evidence that we showed, so TSA settling out with them, who gives a fuck? They don't care. It was like, it was stopped before the screening anyway. He's like, oh my God, and caught it. And, but then they are obligated to call law enforcement. Law enforcement comes in and now they file a citation. They take it to court. And, for most lay people, they think that's not a big deal. Uncle Joey, and again, I'm not on a money grab here. I could give a fuck about the guy's money. It's like when I look at it and I see everything, and if this were me or if this were one of my family members, I wouldn't want any of those charges on my shit. You're on a do not fly list and you have all kinds of other crazy shit. By
Mm.
default, there, he was already fucked. So we got him in there. We filed a huge brief with what the evidence was. The law enforcement said it was unloaded. The fucking TSA said it was loaded. What the fuck was it? And it all came down to, as Sonny got to hear last week, they all want to make excuses. The prosecutor says, well, the officer retired and this, and it was because I'm just saying he had a badass fucking brief that was based on law and facts. And he kept going down there. He kept driving and getting a hotel room and showing up. And that's, I will not take it on if you're not going to be that serious. Oh, yeah, I will. So anyway, long story short, we got that fucking thing dismissed. And like I told him, and he just kind of, not that he was, I think naive is maybe the wrong word, but I'm more excited than he was. It's like, this is fucking huge because if that prosecutor wanted to bury you under, they would have subpoenaed the officer. Fuck the officer. He's coming in and he's going to testify against you, kind of thing. And if I thought he was goofy crazy, I wouldn't have fucking taken this on. But anyway, it's gone. It's behind him. I'm super happy for him and his family. All of the criminal charges were dropped, and those things I don't take those on very often. But it's fun when you get that type of a W outside of your normal lane, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's
Hell
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you and I are gonna get we're gonna get W at some point, Joey. You and me. I
Yeah.
mean, gosh, it just we're climbing. We decided to start our career as mountain climbers at Mount Everest. That's what it is. We decided we were gonna start on Monday. Hey, I feel like we should become rock climbers. Hey, yeah, sure. And we just went straight to Mount Everest. So I think that's really, but yeah, we're learning it at breakneck speeds with a lot of that stuff too. So I, I'm I'm pleased. I would not change anything. The only difference would be if I had the awareness of how of that before. Obviously, it would have been nice because I wouldn't have been so fucking upset about it. But now that I see that, and now that it's clear to me that we basically set off on the hardest. We played the video game for the first time on the absolute hardest difficulty level, which also has allowed for the greatest growth. So that I've learned to enjoy and focus on the growth rather than the technical loss or win of it, and that's when things became much more enjoyable for me.
Yeah, for me, man, it's kudos to Brandon. I've said this before. Had I not met Brandon, I would not have studied the procedural components and how comfortable I feel with the canons and the rules of evidence and all that stuff. That was kind of brought in as to working with Brandon. I had my own little system in 1681 that Sonny's walking through now, and I probably wouldn't have stepped outside of that. I wouldn't have had any reason to step out and learn all the 301 stuff and everything that Brandon was referring to. I just kind of cut out my little groove. I was excited about it, happy about it, and it's definitely broadened me from a learning standpoint as far as litigation goes. All
Mm.
good stuff.
Hell
Yeah, and
yeah.
I wouldn't have been in the cohort if it wasn't for Brandon. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like a big
Yeah, it's
circle,
a big yeah. I would have never gotten into litigation if it wasn't for Joey. No fucking way, man. I
yeah,
mean, I just don't think with everything else I had going on, I just would I have dragged myself through all of that for such I don't even know where I would have started. I don't even know yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe, but it would have I would still be on like the like 10-yard line or something on Godly. I don't know. It just wouldn't have been the amount of speed and growth and knowledge and clarity that we've had over the last couple of years since we met is just outrageous. It would have taken me 10 times longer to do it without Joey. If I would have even done it, I don't I knew I had to do litigation. I was already that had already gone through my mind, and I was like, there's no other way to enforce the magic letters. I didn't say that at that time, but that's translated to what we know now.
yeah.
It was like send the magic letters. Everyone else is sending the magic letters. Now what? And it's like no one's talking about this. Like no one in the sovereignty space is talking about what do we do now. It's just I sent these letters. Check out this cool certified mail thing that I got. They're really fucked now. They're
Yeah.
really fucked now. And then you wake up to the fact that no, they're not. They wiped their ass with it, didn't even read it, and threw it in the trash can. Now what are you gonna do, bitch? And so I knew I had to get into litigation. It was absolutely terrifying, and I knew I had to do it. And that's kind of when I was starting to kind of search around and look and try to find somebody who knew anything. And then you kind of, it's amazing how things work, because
Mhm.
when I really decided in my own mind, and I knew, Brandon, you have to walk down this path, no matter how horrible, no matter how painful. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to start pretty soon here, and there's no fucking question. There's no other like when I finally came to that conclusion, it was just like Joey just
Mhm.
appeared. It's like when the student is ready, the teacher appeared. Literally, that's what it was. But I had gone through months of like, is there any other option? Do I have to do this? Is there anything else I can do? What about liens? What about this? Is there some other way I can gain compliance and enforcement? And I'm like looking at this and then finally it was that moment of like, no, like this is it. You have to learn litigation. Fuck you. And then it was like the deep breath of like, and then as soon as I said okay and accepted that as my fate, that's when things started rolling. It's just amazing how it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. And I'm one that's behind the scenes testing out a lot of stuff. Right now I've got this house I'm in right now. It's in my wife's irrevocable trust, so she's letting me stay here, thank God. And then my mother-in-law, same thing. I've been trustee for a lot of trusts and stuff, and I'm pretty passionate about that. I've been learning that from the trustee's role. I'm kind of going a different path. But same thing with property taxes. I'm a big fan of admin. I don't think Brandon was poo-pooing on admin at all there by saying that, part of our disputing process, the 1681 stuff, is 100% administrative. Right now, in Indiana at least, I'm going at the property taxes from a different angle right now. So I got my assessment last year, just a quick overview. And on it in the fine print, you can see, hey, if you don't agree with this, you can file a state form 130 for an appeal. I did. And I bitched about our house and my mother-in-law's irrevocable trust. And then what that happens is months later, and this is where people get really fucking turned off about the admin and litigation. Both of them are slower than fucking molasses. So I file the 130, and then several months later, I get a fucking hearing set up with the local tax board, which that's crazy. I mean, it's the assessor is serving as the president. She's the one that said, "Fuck you, you're going to pay higher taxes." And just an overview is 17% on our house. It's 22% raise on my mother-in-law's. So I was like,
22% raise, a
a raise
raise
as
of
far as
22%.
the assessed value of the homes, which kicks it up tremendously. And then I do a quick search and find the MLS data says 5 to 6% for Howard County, Indiana. So I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. So because you said in your justification it's based off of MLS sales in 23 and 24, and that's not what I'm finding. Anyway, I disputed with that. It's the whole disputing process we do in 1681. I go to the hearing. I talk to the whole fucking board. I know most of them. Hey, Mindy, I worked with Bill at the. So it's like we all know each other, but at the end, I'm like, I'm not doing this for the 83-year-old mother-in-law. I'm not going to lie to you and say she doesn't have the ability. I'm doing it for all the other 83-year-old widows out here. Alan Wilson knows I'm going to sue the fucking brakes off Howard County. We all know where this is heading. Well, if you want, so anyway, there's a process there that says if it gets kicked out, it goes to the state of Indiana. They file a 115 form that says, fuck you, here's our findings. I now have to file a form 131 form, go to the state of Indiana, and I'll do the same thing. But what I'm doing there is exhausting the entire administrative process. And this is where a lot of people get fucking frustrated and they just don't know where to start. Just read what they're sending you and fucking just follow that process and go to the hearing and then file a fucking appeal and do all of these things. Go to the state of Indiana, and when it's all exhausted and you see administrative doesn't work, fire off that notice of intent to sue to Howard County. That's what I will do, and they know that's where that's going. And I'm okay with that. But at that particular here, when I get into court and they're going to look to see if I followed the entire administrative process and then, gave them a notice and all of that stuff. But that's where I'll get it off the tax rolls because I know now I'll be jumping up and down and they've committed fraud and blah, 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 blah. So I have all my ducks in a row and I'm just doing the entire disputing process, but I'm doing that outside of 1681 only because 1681 was what taught me how to do the disputing admin process effectively. So I love testing that kind of stuff out, just like I did with the criminal case and stuff like that. When I get in there, I know procedurally I'm going to be fine. It's just getting the grounds for being able to get in there and making sure you don't jump any steps. Joey of old, the 1.0 version, I would have just fucking sued Howard County right out of the box. Fuck you, 22%, you motherfucker. And they would have gotten me fucking smoked because procedurally they would have pulled it up. Hey, here's the process and here's what you are to do, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, dude, I will go 2, 3 years. We'll be talking about 27 taxes whenever I'm probably just getting into the court. But I think that's important. Most people like to
Are
jump.
you paying while this is all happening? Are you
Yeah.
still? Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Good question.
that's terrible, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I'm
Is there any
still.
way to not pay and go through all these processes? The
If you,
administrative?
well, and that was one of my biggest issues, Brandon, was, you know what? I've got my mother-in-law has the property paid off, and of course ours is paid off too. If I don't fucking pay these property taxes, and it's not a lot, I'm not acting like I'm in New York City or anything. It's Midwest, it's a couple grand. But if I don't pay those 2 years from now, it's going to a tax sale. So you're literally going to take the price. It's like a RICO act, man. You're literally going to come in, put this house on a tax sale because I didn't pay a couple of grand when I've, paid it off over time. So to me, I think that's wrong at so many levels. But anyway, that's my way to go about getting to the courts is to follow the administrative process. Of course, I paid, and I'll continue paying along the lines. But what they used to do in the past, I used to have rental properties here, not to get too far down that road, but usually I would come in, there was a different assessor at that time. And now I'm a pain in the ass too, by the way. They all know me, so they're going to push me to the limit. I would just come in and say, "Hey, I don't think the taxes are high enough on this rental prop, or they're not low enough on this rental property." It's, "Oh, no problem, Joey. We'll classify that one as a D or whatever, and fuck, boom, the taxes." That's the good old days. Now you gotta, go crazy. But I want to go through the administrative process because if I go through that and I'm successful, now I can say, "Hey, here's how you effectively dispute your property taxes in Indiana." That will be my next 1681. That I can't teach it until I go through it, and then I can't go. So for me, it was learning it myself, doing it for other people, and now I feel comfortable enough to teach the Sonnies of the world. I would never do that with. You don't even hear me talking about it outside of this. About property taxes or trust law or any of that stuff until I feel really good about having completely done it myself.
Yeah.
But tell us something good, Sonny. What's on your mind, bro?
I was
Did
just
you think you were
listening.
going to be a fucking master litigant when you were sitting in Austin, Texas, thinking about
No, like
uh,
Brandon, I knew it was coming in some degree just because of the path I was taking. But yeah, master litigant. Come on, Joey. But anyways, um,
I think you are. I'm not saying that in jest.
no,
Brandon said it
yeah.
earlier. He's got his ass kicked. Joey 1.0 got his ass beat. Way, yeah, fuck, you're in. You've got 5 of the 9 already settled out or whatever.
Well,
That's
yeah, but
that's master.
that's because of the formula. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not.
Hmm.
I mean, I take some credit, obviously, but I was given a formula. I mean, it's amazing as it is. Yeah, it's yeah, it's good. Like I said, I love it. It's, obviously consumed a lot of my brain power and I got a big brain, but yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. I asked for it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But
Yeah, I feel like at first it's consuming in a way that can be kind of anxiety inducing, but I feel like as you move forward, like for example, the very very first time there's a motion to dismiss ever. I don't care how many times you've been told you're going to have anxiety, you're going to get pissed, you're going to want to strangle somebody. But the second time there's a motion to dismiss, it's going to be like 50% less probably than it was the first time. And then the
Yeah.
third time you see a motion to dismiss and they call you and they say frivolous and they say all this stuff, it's down by like 80%. And as that goes down, you start to enjoy it more because it's not so unpredictable. It becomes very predictable what's going to happen. They do the same shit all the time. It's complete garbage. And they have like two little rinky dink toys that you would have pulled out of a fucking cereal box 20 years ago. And that's their whole fucking tool belt. Right. So when you start to realize that and you start to see that and you start to expect that, it becomes a lot different, but you have to kind of, I just don't, no matter how many times I say it, no matter how many times Joey says it, I'm not so sure you're going to avoid the initial shock and irritation associated with just getting started. There's just no way to really, you want to jump in the cold pool, you're going to feel a little cold, and there's only so much anybody's going to be able to fucking do about that. Just period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the attorneys, it's just kind of like just to compare the two, because I mean, in my career, like, when you're going to court, back in the days when I like wasn't like before school resource and all that stuff, but you're in and out of court. Your first like 5, 7 years as an officer, depending on where you go, you're in court a lot. And like, you deal with these attorneys and it's kind of like it's on a different level because it's funny because like the state attorney, all those attorneys, like you're best friends with them. Like you see them all the time. You guys are like, slapping each other five. But the one thing that I can see the similarities in criminal and in this civil arena is defense attorneys. Nobody likes defense attorneys, man. And I can tell you they act the same. It's the funny, God, it's so funny, man. They're just I
They
don't know.
just whip up a fucking good old batch of presumptive horse shit. And most people, and this is why I can tell you 95% of all cases that get dismissed are because people do not head those presumptive arguments off at the past, rebut them with a response in opposition. I know that for a fact. I see it all the time. And that's all you have to do. So the biggest thing that we do, as Sonny knows, is one, we definitely build evidence like no other. I'm fucking crazy about evidence, man. I will not even let people file the case until they've done all of those evidentiary disputes and notices and stuff like that and damages and all of that. And then the second one is getting into court and actually, responding in opposition to every fucking thing they put out. Because if you don't, it literally turns to fact. And I'm
Yeah.
crazy about that. I do not want any of their horse shit to turn to fact. And they know that too, by the way. And they know the majority of at least pro se litigants are not even going to, they'll get into a fucking pissing match and get all emotionally charged and forget all about rebutting with a general, rebuttal and all of that stuff. And, maybe even mentioning 301 and all of that
Mhm.
stuff in the response. But, one of the things I do for the cohorts is I create an AI agent. Ironically enough, I didn't have that either when I was going through. So it's like one of those, I'll build out Sonny's, for instance, to the middle district of Florida, which is where he's at. So I'll get a knowledge base in that AI agent that's his case law, that's his local rules for his court, all of that stuff. So that if Uncle Joey's not around, the play there is when I'm creating my documents, I can upload this PDF horseshit presumptive argument that they put in, and then I start chatting it up with them. It's all about me prompting it because it already has the knowledge base. And then it's going to grow with you over time, isn't it, Sonny? It's going to get smarter about your case. It's going to get really,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, listen, that thing is a game changer, but and you've cautioned us too, but it's not the end all be all. You got
right.
to make sure everything is accurate
Mhm.
and I can say like it might just be me. I'm sure it's just me, but I go through it Like if it gives me something based off what I'm prompting it to give me and I don't like it, I mean I must have changed it. Probably the last one. I don't know if you remember the last my response in opposition to a motion to compel, but I must have changed it at least like 3 or 4 times because I
Mhm.
just didn't like the way. You know, I think Brandon will appreciate that because I think I know he does his like just off by scratch, you know what I mean? And but
Well,
yeah,
I do it by scratch because I've been doing this long enough. I'm always ready for a hearing, which is why I never get one. But I am ready to go into a hearing with literally no notes at all whatsoever. Like, and that's
Yeah.
fucked. Like, no one on the planet can fucking do that. But that's like complete, utter psychopathic obsession all day, every day, every meal, every bathroom break, every sleeping,
no, but
dreaming.
it's not. It's not. And I'll tell you why. Because what I have found is in this process, talking to these attorneys, the one thing I found that's helped me a lot is knowing the statute 15, 16, 81, the code, knowing like because I've read it numerous times, knowing that like the back of your hand and knowing your evidence like the back of your hand. That has
Mhm.
helped me. So like if an attorney called me right now, I would know exactly what when they ask me, oh, like, well, talk to me about your complaint. Like, what is it you're looking, you know what I mean? And then you just go boom, 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 based off the statute. This is your responsibility. You didn't do this. I sent you, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like I think that is really important. So when you say that you can go into a, you know, without no notes, like it's because obviously you've read it 100,000 times. So you just if you know it, you're going to be way more comfortable having the conversations with the attorneys to get the desired result. That's
Well, they're not
how I
used
look at
to having somebody that knows it too. So yeah,
it.
your conversations are pretty brief, Sonny. I mean, it's your client's supposed to have proper procedures in place to ensure maximum accuracy.
Exactly.
That is the law, as far
Hmm.
as 1681 goes. You rattle that off, and if you're talking to furnishers, it's 1681 S2. And if you're talking to the big three, it's 1681 I. And if you know what each of those, two statutory pieces are, I'm with you in that. I can just like Brandon, with his content and his knowledge base of his space. I'm that same person at 1681. If I talk to an attorney, they're going to know really fast that, I know what I'm talking about, but then I also know what, I told your clients. So I know Mary Coleman fucking signed for this at 9:32 a.m. on September 15th. I'll rattle off statistics, data points like that, and they're like, "Oh fuck, I got to go away from this train as fast as I can."
Hmm.
But that's the key. Here's the thing that I've found too, and this is not upsetting, but you hear me talking about it a lot, Sonny, because it seems like the biggest, burliest motherfuckers are the ones that are hesitant on talking to attorneys. And I don't understand that. I guess I was like that maybe at the very beginning. But as much as I give people the assurance that they're not going to fucking bite you, they are going to say stupid shit. And here's what they're going to say. I always prepare, but it's like I'm getting shorter. I had a 2 hour conversation with one the other day, that called me, and I'm like, "Did you reach out to the fucking attorney? Please, for the love of God, tell me you did." It's like most people want to send off a magic fucking letter and think that it's going to land and the attorney's going to go, "Oh my God, no, fuck, not that letter." It's like, no, man. Letters are great from an evidentiary standpoint, but you got to do this right here that we're doing, which is talking, man. Let them say their stupid shit. Let them feel like they're the boss. And then, because the thing that I've found and the thing that you've found is they're your fucking advocate too, by the way. Without them, you're never going to talk to fucking Santander, but they can pick up the phone and talk to Santander in 32 fucking seconds. So they're the fucking advocate for Santander, and they'll slit your fucking nuts off. But at the same time, if you play it right, they're going to take your message back to the home base. Instead of being a fucking clown, sob sit, you actually talk to them, and as you found out, that works out very well, that process, if you know how to do it.
Yeah, well, one of the
Agree.
things for me too that's really unique that I think is kind of strange is go on Reddit and look up Ask Lawyer and see the amount of people that are either quitting, dying, who just had heart attacks, who are addicted to alcohol and prescription pills, who feel that they're chained to a profession that's killing them, you will see nothing but that all the way down the entire subreddit forever,
Mm,
for years and years and years. I think lawyers are the second or third highest suicide rate. I could be
yeah.
wrong on that. So it's also one of those things that with their nice suits and their big smiles, but yeah, they're pretty much fucked as a demographic. So that's also kind
It's
of
not funny, but it's kind of it makes sense. That's why I was laughing.
that's
Yeah.
also kind of given me some peace of mind as well. So that's also kind of another tip.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well,
Yeah, they're not a, they're a once you start getting in and you start looking at that procedural component that Brandon was talking about that he's now becoming a fan of fast, which is nice to hear, is
Slowly.
slowly.
Well, it was slowly up until recently, and now I get it. I finally get it. Just
Um,
I had to bang my head on the wall with a helmet, as you say, for a good year and a half.
they are the most ego-centered fucking people I've ever seen. I just had a hearing the other day and I was moving to dismiss a complaint against me. It's another one where I'm a defendant. Fuck, I'm going to sound like a crazy person soon. But it was like, you're arrogant enough that you didn't file an appearance, and I'll pull that out right away. Look, here's what Indiana's rules say about an appearance at the time of filing an action, and here's what Howard County's local rules. If you start looking at it at that level, you'll start finding all the, and here's the statutory reference that says that you, by submitting a fucking affidavit, tripped on your dick because it says the party's supposed to submit the affidavit. So you start seeing those things and you start seeing patterns of the same shit that they're doing. They don't file the appearances. They're too fucking good for that. Great. They're going to get fucking dismissed. You know, if you can look at a docket and you can't find 4 or 5 procedural fucking land bombs, something's wrong, man, because they are there. I promise you they're there. You got to look for the deficiencies. If that was the biggest nugget I could give everybody, look for the deficiencies and start moving the court to dismiss right away. 12B6, that's your friend.
12B6.
Failure to state a claim. They can't state a claim if they're fucking violating the law. See what I mean? So it's the one that's used against us all the time too, by the way, but you can use it from a procedural standpoint. And you should, but people like to get in there and measure dicks with attorneys. I wouldn't recommend that because they're always going to the person across the bench is their friend and ally is how I look at it. So you can control the judge with the canons. You can control the attorney with the professional standards of conduct. But, those two components, I could teach a master class on those two right there, and that would be the one that everybody would be, I think, interested in. Anybody that's done any litigating at all, when I start talking about those things, get very interested very quick because there are clear guidelines on how they're supposed to operate, musts and shall, must follow the law. The law equals the rules of the court. So, but those are things that people overlook. I mean, that are to me like, I mean, gold mines to win everything.
I like that.
Definitely. Good stuff, man. What else we got? That
Yeah.
it? Fuck it.
I mean, for my the stuff that I'm trying to talk about, uh, nobody wants to talk about it. They'd literally rather go into a bathroom and shoot themselves in the fucking skull with a shotgun than talk about any of this shit. So I have realized that I'm gonna have to be like procedurally, literally, absolutely flawless. Like
Mm.
every period, every fucking symbol, to even have a hope to ever have any of this stuff actually talked about. So I've kind of come to that conclusion that it's just like the conclusion I came to when I started litigating and I realized that I had no other option and I've exhausted every other avenue and I have one door to go through and now I just need to go through it no matter how fucking whatever shitty it is or well, assumed to be shitty or whatever. I'm coming to that same conclusion now with this because, or I already have come to that conclusion. It already happened, months ago, but um, the lawyers and the judges and like they would literally rather hang themselves with a noose than have a conversation about state citizenship or negotiable instruments.
Mm.
It's like sunlight to vampires,
Mm.
and they just will not talk about it. Obviously, I thought when I first started doing all this, it was going to be a super exciting, new, novel, wild. Oh my God, what is this? Like when I went in for my hearing for the small claims case, the judge kind of like his eyes brightened up and he was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "If you do this, like, what if everyone starts doing this?" And he was asking me stuff like that, or like what you think you don't need to pay or something. And like I would explain that to him, and I would explain how, technically speaking, the Federal Reserve is not actually a government entity as per the Ninth Circuit. That was the one where I was shuffling through my papers trying to find the case law on that. I'm like, I just don't have it. I can't just, he's like, it's okay. It's okay. Cause it's like, I can't find that for you in 3 seconds, but if you want me to, I can. One of the things I started doing and I started recommending to people is just, let me write that down. I can get that to you. I want me to email
Mhm.
it to you. I'm going to email it to the chambers. You want me to email it? You want me to put it in the docket? Where do you want it? I'll find it within a couple days, and I know where it's at. I just can't find it while I'm nervous. While there's 9,000 things in front of me, right? But it's like no, sir, because the Federal Reserve isn't actually a government agency. So I'm not expecting that the government pays for it. I'm expecting that I manufacture an unconditional promise or order to pay, and then as per 12 USC 412, the Federal Reserve, which is not a government agency, as per the Ninth Circuit, has a obligation to exchange that note for a different kind of note. So even the Federal Reserve really isn't paying for it. And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, to be honest with you, it really just comes down to the definition of the word payment. I think you're just." And I was being very very calm and very, and I said, Your Honor, with all due respect, I just don't think you understand what the definition of the word payment means. And I swear to God, as soon as I said that, bro, he lit up like a Christmas tree. He was like, this dude is like literally, he was sitting back like this, like the whole time I was talking. And he came in like an hour and a half late too. And he was like, the whole time I was talking, he was sitting like this. And then he would be like, well, how is that? What if everyone starts doing this? And oh, you think you don't need to pay? Oh, you think the government's going to pay for you? Blah 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 blah. And then when I said, "Sir, with all due respect, I just don't think you understand the definition of repayment," he literally sat up and he was like, "Holy!" Like he literally went from like, who's this fucking clown that I had to come out of the back from? Like, why isn't he just on like a Zoom call? Like, why do I have to set up my courtroom? And like, he came an hour and a half late. He wasn't rude to me at all. He wasn't mean. He just had this kind of like, "You're annoying me by being here," kind of a little bit. It wasn't like a ton of that. And it was kind of like that all the way up until the payment definition. And then he just fucking, and by the end, he's like, "You obviously don't have problem doing any fucking legal research. I have no worries about you." And he complimented me at the end. And I was like, damn, I was like, "What's up?" Right. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. And I wish to God I could have gotten the audio, but it was magically malfunctioning during the time. So I couldn't get it. But yeah, so.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
So he propped up because he knew exactly what the fuck you were talking about. Is
No,
that
I
what
don't
you're
think I don't
saying?
think I think he knew at that moment that I wasn't a fucking piece of shit poser dumbass.
Yeah.
Okay.
He knew at that moment, like, this dude's on to something fucking big. Like it wasn't even about him. I don't know, it was weird. It was like he became a fucking fan or something. I don't really know. Like, he became like a fucking pickletarian instantly in front of my fucking eye. I really don't know how to really even describe it, honestly. He was just
Just
very
use.
he was not sure if I'm full of shit or some weird cocksucker sob set until
Yeah.
that
That's it.
moment, and then he realized this dude is the real deal. And when he realized that, everything shifted. But right after he realized I was the real deal, he's like, "You really know what you're talking about. You obviously can do great research, but I just don't see damages here, and that's why I'm dismissing the case." But he
There
was
you go.
very, very cool, super respectful. Like, honestly, if I saw him at like a coffee shop, he'd be like I feel like he'd be like that.
Well, you still got your power on.
Yeah, and then so So what I did was I wrote a letter to the city and I said, hey, you're obviously aware. On blah, blah, blah date at blah, 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 Department A, we had a hearing. I was there in person with, and then the lady's name who was there via Zoom from the city. She was like the customer service rep or something. Because in small claims, they can't have attorneys. They can only have attorneys in the appeals of small claims, which is really interesting. So there was no attorneys there. It was just me and this lady who just works there in like the customer service department, literally. But she was like the customer service like executive or something. She was like the high level of like the customer service or payment area or payment executive, something like that. And I talked and I explained negotiable instruments and the California Commercial Code and how they're exchanged and how, I've received an unconditional order to pay. And then at that point I become the holder and I went like, what is the holder? Blah, blah, blah. And I explained it all. And during that process, he was asking me these questions such as, so you don't think you need to pay? You think the government's going to pay? You think someone else is going to pay your bills for you? What if everyone started doing this? These are the questions that he asked as I was explaining these things. And I was handling those individually as I got asked those. And then at the end, and then I wrote the city a letter and I said, hey, the judge didn't throw this out on the merits at all. He threw it out because of lack of damages. I said, now we're at a bit of an impasse. I said, what I need you guys to do is I need you guys to turn off my power so that I have the damages to file another case because I've already got a complaint ready to go. This time I'm going to go to state. I'm going to go to the state of California. I'm going to go to a state court because I had already sued him twice at that point. I sued him once in federal, which got dismissed for jurisdictional issues. I couldn't establish any federal jurisdiction. I should have never sued them in federal court. So I took the L on that. I didn't go to appeals. So I regrouped. And then I was like, well, fuck it. I've never done small claims. I've never seen anyone else do small claims. Joey hasn't done small claims. It's so fucking easy. I can make some content about it and like maybe tell people about it. Fuck it. I'll try small claims. That's how I got into that court. And then it was dismissed for no damages. And then I wrote to the city and I said, hey, I need you guys to turn off my power because until you guys damage me, I can't sue you again. I'm ready to go. And we're going to state this time. We're going to the only venue left. I've done the other two. Now this is the last one, state court. I said, but I need you guys to turn off my power. Otherwise I can't do anything. I'm not going to sue you again. And then I also said I've enclosed the draft endorsed, ready to go. And I hereby order you to process it under California Commercial Code 3-311, which is accord and satisfaction by use of instrument. And they sent me a thing, final warning, red on top. We're turning off your power. And they were going to turn it off after the 8th of October.
There you go.
So, and here we are on
17th
of November, and there's been no problems, no hiccups. So they sent me another bill for the next month.
Oh, well, let me endorse that one for you too.
And what it says on that one is it says previous balance owed, and then it had the previous balance, current balance owed for the last month, and then grand total. And I just wrote a cover letter and I said, as per UCC 3 oh geez, brain fart. UCC 3 what is it? Contradictory terms. When contradictory terms, when the handwritten terms prevail over both printed and typewritten. 114. 3-114. So I put that on there. I said, thank you so much for so first off, I got the draft and I was like, well, the draft's wrong. So if I endorse it and I send it back, the draft's incorrect. So I looked up a lot of information on dishonoring. I was like, should I dishonor the draft? Mm-hmm. And I was looking all through the rules of dishonor and everything, and it just didn't add up, and I just couldn't figure it out. So I decided to use 114, contradictory terms. I just crossed out all the previously owed amounts, crossed out the total, rewrote just the normal total for just the past month or two, and then in the cover letter it says, the draft that you sent me was incorrect. I've corrected the draft as per the California Commercial Code 3-114. And here we are. Again, I'm issuing this to you for accord and satisfaction by use of instrument under 3-301. This hereby satisfies the obligation. And that was back. That's probably 2, 3, 4 weeks ago that I sent that in. And here we are. So,
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So they're afraid to shut your power off, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, I had to like pump myself up. You know what I mean? Like people
Yeah.
think that I'm just able to just turn on a dime. No, it was like 2 or 3 months of like, Brandon, you really just have to. I mean, God, it's really gonna suck. And then I was like, if they turn off my power, I can just go over there. It's right over here. I can walk there. I can just go there the next day,
Hmm.
give them cash, and have them just turn it back on. So the most I'll be out of power is a day or two, maybe even a week if it takes them time to have to send someone out or whatever. I was like, is a week without power really gonna fucking kill you, city boy? I had to kind of sell myself,
Yeah.
and then by the time I started to shift, I was like, quit being a fucking pussy. This is gonna be fucking awesome. This is gonna be You're gonna be in the dark reading, like just waiting. I'm gonna have that thing. I'm gonna go down to Kinko's and print off the fucking complaint day two with no power, so I can go and file it right away. You know what I mean? Like, so I pumped myself up to literally be excited to have my power turned off. I had to like reprogram my mind. And once I had completed reprogramming my own mind, that's when I sent the letter. And then yeah, it's just funny how things work out because I'm like over here like hell yeah, brother. Like I'm part of like the turn off my power club, like woo, like cracking open beers, like yeah, bro, turn that shit off. Fuck power, bro. Fuck power. You know what I mean? And they just won't at all. So
Wouldn't you love to see that declaration of facts for damages and attach the complaint? One tuna fish sandwich, 15.95. One bottle of Dom Perignon.
I thought about that too. I'm
It's
like,
like,
maybe I should go get some frozen food and just
yeah,
stick it all in the freezer. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
One
yeah.
edible panties that were rotten, shit like
Well,
that. Just to
this
fucking,
this whole experience has completely what really has happened here. And people talk about winning and losing, and it's weird because the real win here, I've already won.
oh
And the
yeah,
way the way that
yes.
I won, I'm telling you, I've won so big. And the win that I've had is I've learned to love being damaged. Please fuck me in the throat. Please. And it's just it literally has completely changed my perspective of like everything. Like when
Yeah,
you're driving and you're like worried someone's going to hit you. I'm like, think about this. You're driving, you're worried someone's going to hit you. You're the one feeling anxiety. You're not being benefited by that. But then, like, when you realize if they hit you, you're going to have some fun. You're like, yeah, hit me, motherfucker. Let's go. It's like everything just becomes so much more enjoyable and childlike. I feel like this experience has almost like brought me back into my childhood, bro. Like, I'm just like, yes, please, God, smash my fucking windows in, please. It'd be awesome if you did. Why don't you? Why aren't you smashing in my windows? I gotta ask. You know what I mean? It's and what's so weird and what's so crazy about it is when you really start to think that way and you really start to believe that way, all of a sudden nobody wants to fuck with you anymore. It's the
that's
weirdest
right.
thing, bro.
Yeah.
Weirdest thing.
Makes
You'll get
sense.
the threats from him and all of that stuff. I have one case too, one that I actually created just for one of our clients, Brandon, so we could, I videoed myself getting all the shit filed and stuff, and now that's becoming a legacy case. But it's one of those where the attorneys will come out of nowhere, and it's like, if you drop your frivolous claims against my client by July 1st, then we won't seek damages. And I'm like, who the fuck do you think you're talking? Are you shitting me? I would never have filed this if I was going to get out that fucking easy. It's like, but you probably would be surprised how many times that horseshit works for people. It's like, oh my God, I better get out of this so I don't have to pay them. So, oh my God. I'm like, I don't own any. I got $1.36 to my name. I don't own anything. Fuck, it's like,
Or like at the very beginning when Herte was threatening us with UPL, unlicensed practice of law. Remember
yeah,
that?
yeah,
I was on the phone with his attorney, and she's like, Brandon, you're unlicensed practice of law. I'm gonna file a complaint or a report. I was like, oh please. I was like,
hmm,
please, can you send me a copy when you're done? I got 10,000 people on my email list I want to send it to. We're gonna have a fucking blast laughing about it. I made her promise me on the phone. I said, I need you to promise me, Herte, that when you file this thing, you are gonna send me. Oh, you're definitely gonna get a copy. You're definitely gonna get a copy. I said, hey, you promised. I told her, I said, you fucking promised. You have to send me a copy. Guess what? She never fucking did.
she never filed one.
Never filed one.
No. Yeah, I was on that call too. That was funny.
Well, we were like screaming at each other.
Yeah.
So it's, I had to go. It took me a long time to be able to kind of think with some of the stuff that we're talking about on this show, like to have these conversations and be chill and like talk. And like at the beginning, I just wanted to rip these people's throats out of their fucking bodies and like
Yeah.
just, so I think for a lot of people they may go through that too, but you have to just continue. You have to just continue until you kind of move past that phase. And it just becomes a little bit more normal kind of day to day. And then, I feel like a lot of that will subside. It's not like you shouldn't feel like you're failing just because you're angry. Because when you start, like, I don't know, if you're angry when you start, just keep going and you won't be angry eventually. I mean, it's not going to take years. It's going to take maybe months at the most to not be angry anymore, especially if you're
Wow.
learning all the time. And with all the information we have available now, the amount of frustrations that people are going to go through now compared to the amount of frustration that Joey went through and I went through, it's just so much smaller and easier. And it's just getting so much easier by the fucking day, it seems like by the week. There's so many people pouring into the sovereignty movement and a lot of this weird horse shit like the 1099A form and all this kind of old shit that was all the craze 2 or 3 years ago is all gone and dead. And the whole fucking movement is moving into this entirely more practical zone. And we're starting to bridge the gap between the real world or the world that we live in and sovereignty. And that gap that was the size of a Grand Canyon 3 years ago is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And with the way things are going in the next year and a half, there isn't gonna be a gap.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
Yeah.
two, the two worlds are going to touch, literally. And
There's
it's
going to be
not
a
going to be 10 years
clash.
from now. It's not going to be 10 years from now. It's going to be like a year to 2 years from now. This thing is moving fast, dude.
Yeah.
I'm getting like 4 to 7,000 followers like a day on all my accounts combined,
Jesus.
and it's like growing. It's fucked. I've sold like 1,700 books in like 19, 21 days.
Yeah, it's good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fucked. It's literally insane.
It's one of those things that, we're doing it trial by fire kind of thing, but man, wouldn't it be cool if you were taught just the basics of being a pro se litigant? And I said this in our groups, our cohorts, is man, I would love to see an 18-year-old Joey that was sued and also brought suit, which I've done both. I enjoy the defendant's role probably more so than the plaintiff's role now, just because that's over there where you can really cut up procedurally. But something that you actually bring a suit like Sonny's doing right now, to where he's built the evidence, he knows how to present himself in the court, but also over here and get your ass sued and understand how to defend yourself properly, procedurally. If you're that version of somebody, man, you're fucking untouchable. I'm not saying go out and use that superpower to fucking be an asshole. I say that a lot of times. So, what you're learning here, please don't take that and start, and then I go out and sue everybody. But it's like you shouldn't do that. I mean, you should, just kind of sit back and, we all get contracted or attempts at contract on a daily basis, man. And if you know how to handle those contracting times or opportunities, man, you can really move the needle. I mean, when you see it and you know it, and after you've been through it and you've properly had both of those roles, when somebody starts coming at you and talking dumb shit, you can head them off pretty quick, is what I'm getting at, and be really successful at that. Just usually from, like I said, communicating. You know, here's what I've done, and then you start getting those fucking those gang colors. You got your fucking, red shirt, you got the bandana. They look at you as a Crip when you get, because they do. They'll look at you on the fucking, in Indiana, they look and they say, oh shit, he's got 15 cases outstanding. It's like, or in federal court, oh shit, yeah. They'll look at your credibility in the courts and see how you've, handled yourself. And if you've got stipulation to dismissal on a record, they know how to settle immediately. They know how so how to defend a motion to dismiss or a motion to compel arbitration like Sonny's done. He's already got that under his belt now. That's on his litigant resume right now on how to defend properly. So,
Mm,
if it comes up in the future, he's got that there. So that's the cool thing about it.
very.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Is this it?
Where
Is
else
this-
we at? I don't know.
I called the Supreme
Okay.
Court today. I got a hold of the clerk. They gave me a phone number for a lady, a specific lady who's an analyst. And I told him it's been about 4 weeks. He said, give her till about Thursday. If you don't hear anything via mail or phone or anything, give her a call on Thursday. So
Hmm.
we signed for everything, the package. They picked it up from the post office on October 14th. So I haven't seen anything docketed yet, but I'm hoping to call them. It's probably the most shocking writ of certiorari they've seen in 100 years.
What is she supposed to be doing?
So I think there's a whole analysis team that like looks over everything and like makes sure that it's okay before they docket it. But like with the shutdown and everything, it's been like super crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've just been kind of like chill and like letting them just do their thing. Um, and then today I called. So on Thursday I'll call the analyst and see if there's any information. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like I can't ask anybody else because who's going to the Supreme Court? Nobody. So
Mhm.
I'm totally alone in this one. But I'm just going to keep calling the clerk and calling whoever they tell me to call until sort it out. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, if
So
there's anything wrong, usually, I mean, at least in the appellate court, Seventh Circuit, they'll send you a deficiency notice if anything's wrong. There was something wrong with my appellate brief, and I turned it right back around and sent it, and I was fine. So they'll give you a deficiency notice before they kick it out for some kind of procedural defect if you fuck something up.
which would suck. And I read over the rules like 800 times to make sure it didn't happen because I'd have to go and reprint all
Yeah,
40 booklets and do the whole. It's like $600 I spent on just printing booklets and preparing everything. So that would be kind of shitty, but I'll do it if I have to do it. Obviously, I'm not going to
yeah.
give up on this. So
Well, maybe it would be something else procedurally that not necessarily, the can't remember what mine was, but it was something pretty simple that I had to do and turn it back around. I mean, here, especially, you have to have certain color fucking cover sheets, like green one for this type of a brief and a red one or a blue one. It's just like, and if you don't do I mean, it's just goofy ass stuff that you got to do to, whether that's like freshman algebra or something, just to see if you can pass the test. I don't know, but it's just a bunch of dumb shit to get your stuff docketed. So I'm sure the Supreme Court, it's probably a higher bar to cross than even that.
yeah, I went through 60 pounds paper for the inside pages, 65 or above for the cover. Exact, very, very extreme sizing requirements, exact font, exact font size, 2 points spacing in between the lines. I practically memorized it because I literally read them till my eyes burned through my skull because I'm going to spend $600 every time I fuck it up.
Hmm.
So it's like I was like very concerned with getting it right, and I looked at a lot of different examples, and I took one of the examples of one of the ones that were actually approved recently, and I wrote mine based off of that skeletal structure, and I put like tons of time and effort into it, and like yeah, so we'll see. I mean, like I said, I don't think they've ever seen anything like this before, so the analysts might be just having a real fucking field day on like what the fuck is this, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we'll see, I mean there's like almost no chance they'll pick it up. If they picked up my case, like I literally could reform the whole country in one shot, but the
Hmm.
chance that's going to happen is
But there's a chance.
there is a small. I mean, I fired the gun because I thought, even if it's a tenth of a percent, I'm going, I'm doing it, I don't care,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, it's worth the shot, man. No doubt about it. Just the experience and going through that and creating everything and stuff is is a win in itself, man. Just learning, that's a huge procedural step to say, all right, I can read these rules, I can figure out what it is that I have to do, and then I can create this stuff for future endeavors and stuff too is
Well, the
huge.
Amex cases in the Ninth Circuit, they've had we had the I filed an opening brief. They filed a motion to dismiss. That was stricken. They didn't want to do that. They forced them to file an answering brief. They filed in an answering brief. I filed in a reply brief. It's sitting there. So now the amount of work and effort and stress that I'm going to have to go through to take that case and
Hmm.
do a writ of certiorari, if that one gets thrown out, is 70% less than it was the first
Right.
time around.
That's the win, man.
And if I ever get an appeals case thrown out and I'm not happy and I thought and I felt strongly enough about it enough to take it to appeals, well, chances are I'm going to Supreme Court every
Yeah.
motherfucking time. They're going to know my name, by next year, by name. If that's what it takes, then that's what I'm going to do. I don't know.
I'm the same way, man. I'm never gonna fucking file a case that I'm not willing to take all the way to the end zone, man. You
Yeah.
know, yeah. I get this process in place that the Sonnies of the world walk through. I need to fuck that up somehow to where they have to file an appeal somewhere, get something dismissed or whatever. But because it's something that like you got the district courts, what I call them the weed out. That's where we're all at. It's the kind of weed out stuff for those motions to dismiss. If you don't know how to handle those, then it's like they look at you as a retard. So, if you have something truly like something for an appeal, they're looking for abuse of discretion. Quite honestly, that's really about the only grounds I see. Did the judge fuck up and overstep their discretionary powers and eliminate the authority of the court? That's what they're looking for, is to see that. And then you get, to the Supreme Court, there a lot of times they're looking for predominantly, is there a circuit split? Is Brandon's Ninth Circuit and my Seventh Circuit doing two different fucking things? Because if they are, that's a huge issue, man. If his Ninth Circuit is ruling at the appellate level way different than mine, let's just say on the 1681 issue, that's where we have the Supreme Court. If they're stepping into a circuit split or somebody is just completely fucking up the rules that they've written. Those are the two biggies right there. But
They also look at national impact.
yeah, yeah, it's got to have a national
That's a
impact
that's
with
a
it too.
big that's a big that's a big like
Yeah.
they have a three prong one, I forget what it is. Prong two is circuit split, and then prong three is national impact.
Hmm. Yeah, it's good. It's a little bit different with the Supreme Courts at the state level. There's so many remedies out there too that people just don't understand. I mean, you can go after the judge and file a complaint. At least in Indiana, it's on the professional standards of conduct. It's Rule 25, and it talks about the judiciary complaint that you can file with the Supreme Court, by the way, if they're fucking up and violating the rules with discretion that they don't have. For the attorneys, you can file a complaint very similar to that and get relief. It's Rule 23 with the professional standards of conduct. And then you also have, which I just learned a few months ago, an original action. And in Indiana and most state courts, I'm going to assume that original action is just a bypass of the appellate court going straight to the Supreme Court. And it says it's not favored. If you looked it up, there's only like four rules in the original action in Indiana. But the biggest one, it's about jurisdiction. If they're acting outside of their jurisdiction, it's where you file the writ of mandamus and the writ of prohibition. You just go straight to the Supreme Court. I'm thinking about testing that bad boy out here real soon too. So there's a ton of remedy that you don't have or that you do have that people just don't understand. And that's why these attorneys just think they can get away with fucking anything, and they've been able to get away from anything. Like it's like we were just Brandon and I were talking about just now. I'm not going to file a case if I don't go all the way to Supreme Court. Well, I shouldn't file a case either if I'm not willing to keep the judges and the attorneys in line, because it's not doing Sonny any good if he moves to Indiana and I'm a fucktard pro se litigant that's not taking that serious. Because I can tell you that the judges and the attorneys are fucking up. You just have to put them on notice, and when you put them on notice, then you file with, I think it's Anita Maring or whatever her fucking name is. She runs the group down there for the Supreme Court. just keep filing fucking complaints. Hey man, but just make sure it's valid complaints. You've told the judge in the court that he's fucking up. You've told the attorneys that they're fucking up. Here's the oath that you took on Rule 22. Here's what it says about supporting the state constitution, blah, 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 blah. And then here's how you're fucking up. So I actually started studying that because in Indiana, you can get in on our state website and you can see the fucking the complaints that have been filed against judges and attorneys. So I'm modeling that complaint just like I did the 1681 stuff in Pacer. I'm going to see what the Supreme Court, the fucking lynch mob is doing here, and then I'm just going to recreate that same thing, talking about, the 8.4 misconduct rule, all of that stuff that you have, just build something out like that and say, here you go, and just take all the work off that disciplinary committee whenever you send it. You're a great litigant when you're doing that, saying, hey, here's the issues, here's the notice, here's when I told them they couldn't defend, and here's everything you need, basically, as a proposed disciplinary measure. I learned that just by seeing our fucking goofball attorney general, Todd Rokita, who was on the Jesse Walters show talking about some dumb fucking doctor, and they sued his ass off. Here's the Indiana attorney general getting fucking pounded. And then one of our judges just had to step down here recently because he was doing goofy shit. So they do goofy shit. Somebody's got to hold them accountable, and it's us if we're doing it right. We know the rules, the procedural rules, and so forth that they're supposed to operate in. And people are just too fucking lazy when they get in there, and then they just take whatever the court gives them and say, it's fucking, it's bullshit. It's a scam. They're all Masons. And, here I am working harder than probably anybody. I am a fucking Mason. So if that's a horse shit right there. Sonny, you're not, you're not a Mason, are you, Sonny?
No.
Oh, it's because you're a fucking cop. So I'm a
Yeah.
Mason and I win, and you're a fucking ex law enforcement
Yeah. Can
officer,
you
so you
imagine
win,
people? Jesus.
So people will
Yeah.
say that dumb shit, by the
No,
way.
I can. I was thinking about that before we even had this. I'm like, oh man, I could just imagine some of the comments that might come in, like, oh yeah, of course, the fucking Mason Akai. He's probably,
Uh-huh.
he's probably the son of a Mason or something, yeah, whatever.
Right. Yeah. And a cop. So you got the best of all
The
worlds, Sonny. That's
Scientologists, they're probably like,
yeah,
Jesus
those
fucking
fuckers.
Christ.
Yeah. But anyway,
That's the beauty of recap. That's why, like, I just block them because the thing is that I get it. Pacer, you got to go, you got to create an account, you got to put in a debit card. If you put a debit card in, they'll give you the account right away. If you don't put the debit card in, you have to wait for the PIN number to come in paper form to your address, which takes 5, 6, 7, 8 days. I get it, but recap is you click one single fucking button, you get the entire docket instantly. You click any of the docket items that are blue, and you get the original item for that docket instantly. Like
hmm,
like at that point, I'm like, no. Like if you say some stupid shit like that, like you're blocked. You're done. You're
hmm.
cooked. I'm over it. It's not even, you know what I mean? The problem is that people just don't know about recap, and then we have to get all these cases recapped as quickly as possible because that removes that excuse, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think when I was first starting out, man, I spent a lot of money on Pacer. They charge you quarterly. And I was in there printing off fucking everything that I could find, anything that was 1681 related, in most circuits, it felt like. So yeah, my quarterly bill would be, a couple $100 maybe. Now it's not much at all, but um yeah, it's such a good thing to have to be able to research if you know what you're going and looking for, and you can find, the cases. 1681's in every fucking district, and there's multiple
Yeah.
opportunities there. All right, good stuff. Well, I'm gonna hit the
Oh
stop
yeah.
recording button here, man.
Perfect.
It's been a hoot.
All right.
And yeah, peace out. We'll
See
get
ya.
Sonny back here maybe after he's got everybody cleared out here in the near future. So he
Oh
can
yeah.
Soon.
tell us about all his windfall.